Chapter 506. Just by looking at Fong Lingshuan's eyes, Xia Pingan could roughly guess what this beauty was thinking. However, it did not matter. If he did not tell them the truth, they would not know what was going on even if they broke their head. Fong Lingshuan's mind was also thinking quickly. Her tone became gentler and she even showed a rare smile to Xia Pingan. Your Excellency Luo and has saved countless Chinese people in the 11th district tonight. I wonder if you would like to return to the 11th district with me and meet the people there. Many Chinese people in the 11th district are very grateful to you and would like to thank you in person. If you have any requests, you can make them. Haha, there's no need to go back. Just ask the people in the 11th district to clean up the battlefield and dispose of the corpses. Don't cause any epidemic. As for gratitude, if you have any rare realm beads that you would like to give to me as a token of appreciation, I will not refuse. Luoan was his doppelganger. Once this doppelganger completed the final integration, his realm would be restored and he would be able to integrate the realm bead. The materials in the space warehouse of the secret mandala belonged to two different worlds. He could not bring things from different worlds back through his doppelganger. This was limited by the laws of physics. However, the realm of cultivation was only related to the spiritual body. The integration of the realm beads in this world and in Yuanqiu would have the same effect for Xia Pingan. They could both improve his realm. At this moment, the only useful resource on Earth for Xia Pingan was the realm bead. It was just that the number of rare realm beads on Earth was even rarer. However, it was not that there were none. Therefore, for Xia Pingan, the greatest practical significance of his doppelganger was to expand his channels to obtain rare realm bead. This was also one of the important reasons why he returned to Earth. Fong Lingyin was a little surprised that Lin Fan would ask for the boundary pearl so directly. Shouldn't a so-called expert like Lin Fan be modest and decline at this moment? Why did he take advantage of the situation and ask for a rare boundary pearl the moment he opened his mouth? He was too realistic. There are no rare realm beads in the 11th district at the moment. If you need them, we will try our best to find them. However, if we find them, how can we give them to you? Fong Lingxian was also testing the waters. She wanted to know the background of this powerful summoner in front of her. At the very least, she wanted to see if they could work together again. I can't tell you my current whereabouts. If you find a rare realm bead and want to thank me, hang a red balloon on the tower. I'll go to the 11th district to find you after I see it. By the way, are you also a summoner of the Great Fire Country Committee of Order? Fong Lingyi nodded. Her identity was naturally a secret to most people, but since this man knew Fong Lingshan, and Fong Lingshan was also in the Committee of Order, he should be able to guess her identity. Therefore, there was no need to keep her identity a secret in front of this man. Yes, I am also a summoner of the Committee of Order in the Fire Country. The Committee of Order has a new mission in Paris? I have no comment. Xia Pingan smiled. Sorry, I was just curious. I'm very happy to have met you today, but don't follow me anymore. Otherwise, I'll have to knock you out. I hope we'll have a chance to meet again. By the way, if your Great Fire Country Committee of Order has any missions and wants to ask for external help, I'll be happy to do so as long as there are rare realm beads. After saying this, Xia Pingan's figure slowly melted into the night under Fong Lingyin's eyes. Fong Lingxian didn't chase after him. She just furrowed her delicate eyebrows and analyzed what Xia Pingan had just said from beginning to end. Judging from everything that happened tonight, this powerful summoner named Luo and should be a powerhouse on the Chinese side. He hated the demon eye and should not be an enemy. However, if she wanted to rope him in, it would not be so easy. She could not rely on principles. He only recognized rare realm bead. The Doomsday Gang and the Jackal Gang were finished tonight, and the situation in Paris was going to change greatly. In addition, a powerful summoner of unknown origin had appeared. Tonight's situation had affected his mission, and he had to report it to the headquarters. Also, she had to investigate Luo An's origins. Fong Lingyin glanced in the direction Xia Pingan had disappeared, and her figure slowly melted into the shadows behind her. After leaving Fong Lingyin and turning 2 streets, Xia Pingan took out Emily's Citroën. Xia Pingan drove the old Citroën through the empty streets of Paris in the dark. It was a special feeling, and he even deliberately circled the Arc de Triomphe. Fong Lingyin's appearance reminded Xia Pingan of his old friends Mo Yanxiao, Tu Polu, Chao Xinghua, Anqing, Li Yunzhou, Fong Lingshan, and Lao Zhou. Their faces flashed in Xia Pingan's mind from time to time. I wonder if these old friends are doing well? They must have never thought that I would be able to return. The Doomsday Gang is actually controlled by the Demon Eye. I wonder how many people that evil organization has in Paris. I wonder if the Committee of Order is also in Paris. Could it be related to this? It is a gain to be able to reconnect with the Committee of Order through Fong Lingyin. The Committee of Order must have many rare realm beads. As long as I show my ability and value, I can use my identity as external help to obtain realm beads from the Committee of Order in the future. Xia Pingan was previously a member of the Committee of Order, so he knew very well that many of the missions of the Committee of Order did not have to be completed by the summoners of the Committee of Order. In fact, they could ask for external help or cooperate with intelligence agencies and summoner organizations of other countries. In short, he was very satisfied with everything tonight. He drove back to Pierrefitte. As soon as the car arrived at the entrance of Emily's villa, the door opened. Emily had not slept and had been waiting for Xia Pingan to return. Xia Pingan parked the car in the villa, and Emily was already standing in front of him. Compared to the chaos outside, Pierrefitte's villa area was as quiet as a paradise. Teacher, Paris was very chaotic tonight. There were gunshots everywhere and there seemed to be explosions. Where did you go? Emily stared at Xia Pingan in confusion. For some reason, she felt that he was a little mysterious today. Could it be that the huge commotion in Paris had something to do with him? I went out shopping and bought some things. It's indeed very chaotic outside. You can train in the villa for the next 2 weeks. Let's not run around. Come here, there's some food in the car. Help me carry it down, Xia Pingan said casually. He had put some things he got from the butcher's warehouse in the car, so as to save himself the trouble of purchasing them in the next few days. After tonight's chaos, Paris would definitely not be peaceful for a period of time. At the sight of the things piled up in the back of Xia Pingan's car, Emily's attention was immediately diverted to the things in the car. At the sight of those things, her face was full of surprise as she exclaimed, "Ima's caviar, salt flour that Brittany eats, canned bluefin tuna, smoked stout sausages, canned truffles, certain cheese, red wine from Chateau Latour. Oh my God, these things are enough for us to eat for a month. Where did you get them? Ima's caviar and canned truffles can't even be bought with money now. Summoners can always get things. By the way, the clothes you chose for me are not bad. I like them very much." The two of them unloaded the things from the car and stuffed them into the cold storage at home. Emily seemed to have forgotten to ask about Xia Pingan's whereabouts. She directly prepared a potato with smoked stout sausages, bread, caviar and red wine for Xia Pingan. The two of them ate a delicious supper while listening to the occasional gunshots in the dark outside. After that, they returned to their rooms to rest. Early the next morning, Xia Pingan woke up, washed up and went downstairs. Emily had already prepared a delicious breakfast. After a night's rest, the divine energy available in Xia Ping and secret mandala continued to increase. It had almost reached over 1,900 points. When they were eating breakfast, Xia Pingan's heart skipped a beat. He took a plate and waved his hand, and 30 dark red pills appeared on the plate. Emily stared at them with her eyes wide open, as if she was watching a magic show. "Here are 30 pills. Take one every day. Remember, don't eat more than that. After eating, you have to hurry up and train according to the method I taught you. That way you can better absorb the effects of the pills. Teacher, what are these pills for? Emily took one of the pills and sniffed it lightly. This smell is a little strange. It smells a little like a sea urchin that was fished out of a thick soup. These are body-strengthening pills. After eating these, your physical fitness should be able to prepare to fuse with the realm pearl. These body-strengthening pills were refined from the demon rats that he had hunted in the subway yesterday. If it weren't for those demon rats, Xia Pingan really wouldn't have been able to make these body-strengthening pills. He would have had to find a way to hunt for demons. Are all summoners so amazing that they can conjure pills out of thin air? Emily asked enviously. You'll know when you become a summoner. Remember, take one pill every morning. Don't eat more than that. What if I accidentally eat more than that? If you become ugly, strong masseter muscles grow on your face, and your face becomes like a poker card, then don't blame me for not warning you. Xia Pingan threatened. Emily's face turned pale. She couldn't help but touch her cheeks and quickly nodded. Teacher, don't worry. I'll only take one pill a day. I won't eat more than that. Okay. For the next half a month, Paris was in chaos. Xia Pingan and Emily didn't walk out of the villa's door. Xia Pingan also didn't care about the chaos and disputes outside. Xia Pingan ate and slept every day. When he had time, he would instruct Emily in training her body or try to refine new disc arrays. His spirit body and physical body were rapidly fusing. Even if he didn't do anything, his strength and physical condition were still rapidly improving every day. Finally, after half a month, Xia Pingan's spirit body and physical body had completely fused and transformed. The clone mystic technique on Earth was finally completed. The sixth sun realm Xia Pingan was finally completely revived in Paris. Chapter 507. The weather is so strange, there's too much lightning. Emily muttered softly as she stood in front of a telescope on the third floor of the villa, her forehead still covered in sweat. She stood in front of a telescope on the third floor of the villa and looked at the weather outside. The rumbling of thunder reverberated throughout the entire Paris. Paris had a temperate oceanic climate, and it was rainy all year round. However, the weather in Paris today was a little abnormal. Half an hour ago, the sky was still clear, but in the blink of an eye, the sky was covered in dark clouds. Bolts of lightning were like silver snakes, darting through the clouds. Violent torrential rain poured down, enveloping the entire Paris in a misty rain. There was too much lightning. The entire Paris seemed to have become a thunderstorm zone. Emily saw the top of the tall iron tower in the distance being struck by lightning from time to time. Sparks flew everywhere, and the entire iron tower seemed to have become a huge lightning rod, attracting all the lightning. Lightning struck the iron tower from time to time, and bolts of lightning danced wildly on the roof of the church not far away, illuminating the sky and earth in a ghastly white. Some lightning struck the Seine River, and even the water in the Seine was boiling. Although the sound of the thunder reverberated through the bulletproof glass of the windows, it was still quite loud when it reached the house. Lightning in Paris was mostly in the summer, and the highest frequency was in April, May, and May. It was already September now, and Paris rarely encountered such violent lightning at this time of the year. The continuous lightning seemed to be indicating something, but Emily wasn't sure. She only felt her heart palpitate a little. Squeak! The sound of the door opening came from behind her. Emily turned around and saw Xia Pingan walk in. Teacher! Emily called out. Her gaze lingered on Xia Pingan's face for a moment, and she was slightly surprised. Emily felt that her teacher seemed to be a little different from usual today, but she couldn't pinpoint exactly what was different. It was just that a woman's sixth sense was particularly strong. Xia Pingan woke up a little late today, about 2 or 3 hours later than usual. After Emily finished her breakfast, she went to the training room on the third floor to begin her training. She didn't expect the situation to suddenly change, so she went to the window and looked through the telescope for a while before resting. The training room used to be Emily's dance studio and physical training area. There were also some tools and equipment inside so she could train there. After half a month of training and the effects of the body-strengthening pills, the current Emily had been reborn. If she were to fight, 5 or 6 ordinary men would not be her match. Emily also knew that the body-strengthening pill that Xia Pingan gave her must be very precious. She had never heard of something that could change an ordinary person's physique. Because of this, Emily respected Xia Pingan even more. All powerful summoners have a common trait, and that is self-control. You are very good. Seeing Emily's sweat-drenched hair and half-wet vest, Xia Pingan smiled as he praised Emily. Teacher, wait a moment, I'll make breakfast for you, Emily immediately said. Cooking for Xia Pingan had already become her habit. Moreover, Xia Pingan's appetite was astonishing. He had extremely high requirements for 3 meals a day. No need, I'm not very hungry this morning. The weather in Paris today is very strange. There's actually a thunderstorm, Emily said as she looked out the window again. She realized that in the blink of an eye, the dark clouds in the sky outside had actually slowly dissipated, and the thunderstorm had also stopped. It was really strange. This is for you. Xia Pingan extended his hand. In his hand was a golden spider that was about 2/3 the size of a palm. The golden spider was very lifelike. Its legs were completely spread out, and its metal back was inlaid with a circle of small sparkling diamonds. It looked like an exquisite hairpin. Ah, teacher, is this a spider-shaped wristband? Emily happily took the metal spider. She didn't expect Xia Pingan to give her such a beautiful accessory. This isn't a wristband. Drip a drop of your blood on the spider's back and you'll know. Emily already had unconditional trust in Xia Pingan. When she heard Xia Pingan's words, Emily didn't think too much about it. She saw that the spider's pair of forelimbs were a little sharp, so she used the spider's forelimbs to prick her finger and dripped a drop of blood on the spider's back. As soon as the blood dripped, the spider's body made a few slight cracking sounds. Then it moved. In the blink of an eye, it became a living spider. It crawled along Emily's hand, forearm, arm, all the way to Emily's shoulder. It can actually move, Emily exclaimed with a look of disbelief. Teacher, is this a robotic spider? This isn't a robotic spider, but it's similar to one. As a summoner, I call it a puppet spider. If you encounter any danger when I'm not by your side, it can protect you. Protect me? Emily blinked in disbelief. How can this little thing protect me? You can try. Give it a command in your heart and let it attack something. Emily's gaze circled around the room. Her eyes immediately fixed on a 5-kilogram dumbbell placed on a gym rack next to her. She gave the command in her heart to attack. Once the command was given, the puppet spider bounced up from her shoulder instantly. Its speed was incomparably fast, and it landed beside the 5-kilogram dumbbell. With a faint flash, the puppet spider bounced back and landed on Emily's shoulder. The metal rod in the middle of the 5-kilogram dumbbell had already been broken into 2 halves, as if it had been cut by a sharp weapon. Emily was dumbfounded. If such a terrifying weapon landed on a person's vital parts, such as the head or throat, wouldn't it be a one-hit kill? Xia Pingan gently pointed at the puppet spider, and it crawled to Emily's left wrist. Its legs closed together, and with a click, it stopped moving. It looked like a spider-shaped metal bracelet. Unless it's necessary, don't let others know that you have such a thing on you. Most summoners don't have such a thing. If others know that you have such a thing on you, it will arouse jealousy and may even bring disaster. Xia Pingan warned seriously. Xia Pingan did not know if there were any summoners on Earth who had mastered the mechanism technique. In any case, none of the summoners from the Committee of Order that he had interacted with before had mastered this ability. This simple spider puppet was nothing among the summoners in the Yuanqiu world, but on Earth it was definitely a rare item. It might even be the only one. In order to disguise this thing as a bracelet, he had deliberately embedded a diamond in it. For a summoner who had mastered the mechanism technique, embedding a diamond was too shameful. Emily nodded. The longer she spent with Xia Pingan, the more she realized that her painting teacher was different from ordinary summoners. The value of the spider puppet in her hand was beyond her imagination. If such a thing could be sold, Emily felt that there would be people who would want it even if it was 100 million euros. Perhaps 100 million euros was too cheap, teacher. Can this thing pass the security check? Emily looked at the spider bracelet on her hand. This bracelet did not move at all. It was impossible to imagine that it had done such a shocking thing just now. Yes, if it passes the security check, this thing will be a piece of jewelry. You can take it off and make it stay still. Teacher, why did you think of giving me this thing? Xia Pingan rubbed his face. I have to go into seclusion for a period of time. When I'm in seclusion, I won't be able to take care of you. I'll be more at ease if you have this thing on you. Don't relax during this period. When I come out of seclusion, I'll find time to guide you in fusing with the realm bead. Now that he had mastered the secret doppelganger technique, he had left the god-slaying bug world for a period of time. It was about time for him to return to the god-slaying bug world. After all, that was his foundation. Xia Pingan's place of seclusion was the underground shelter in Emily's villa. He placed the refined tortoiseshell 5 elements inverted 8 trigrams sword formation disc and 2 spider puppets in the underground shelter in Emily's house. He also told Emily how to contact him in an emergency. Then, after setting up the soul power protection boundary, Xia Pingan's doppelganger entered the embryonic breathing realm. His spiritual body instantly left the doppelganger. A few seconds later, in the conch shell dojo in the Undead Sea, Xia Pingan, who was sitting cross-legged, suddenly opened his eyes. Chapter 508. Almost at the same time when Xia Pingan's spirit left Paris, Luo En's photo and information gradually appeared in the center of a huge electronic screen in a basement somewhere in the 11th arrondissement of Paris. Fang Lingxian was standing in front of the electronic screen and reading the information from China. She looked a bit excited but pretended to be calm. On the screen, Luo En's hair was a little long. He was wearing sportswear, loose denim overalls, and a cap. His face was full of youthfulness, and the words "artistic youth" were written on his face. Fang Lingxuan's sharp eyes scanned the face on the screen inch by inch, not missing any details. Finally, she confirmed that this Luoan was the same Luoan she had met that night. It was not a coincidence that they had the same name. Although the Luoan in the photo and the Luoan she had met looked completely different, they were indeed the same person. Lingxian, this is the information we just got from Huaxia. Several national data centers in Huaxia suffered heavy losses in the heavenly tribulation. Therefore, it took us a lot of effort to get this information. Are you sure this person is the powerful summoner you met? A serious-looking, gray-haired, bespectacled man in a black suit appeared on the split screen of the electronic screen and was having a video call with Fang Lingxian. Behind this middle-aged man was the symbol of the Committee of Order of the Great Fire Country. The basement where Fang Lingxian was in was actually one of the intelligence bases of the Committee of Order of the Great Fire Country in Paris. Yes, I'm sure it's him. He has the same name and looks. Fang Lingxian nodded affirmatively. That's strange. The middle-aged man on the screen frowned. 3 years ago, this Luoan was just a student at an art school in Huaxia. Later, he went to France to study at his own expense. During the Huaxia College entrance examination, he didn't pass the physical screening of summoners, so he wasn't qualified to fuse with the Realm Pearl. In Huaxia's records, his resume and past are very clean. We can't find any connection between him and summoners. His parents have divorced and formed their own families, but they are still in Huaxia. Before the paralysis in Paris, he was still in contact with his family. The last time his father transferred money to his bank account was 2 years ago. He gave him about 5,000 euros. After that, he couldn't contact him. Director, I don't know what happened, but the person I met that night was indeed this man. His name and facial features are exactly the same. Judging from his strength, this Luo should be around the 7th Yuan realm. I'm no match for him, Fong Lingxian replied. Normally, a summoner who can reach 3rd elemental realm wouldn't be a nobody. We can find this information in our intelligence database. This person only became famous after reaching 7th elemental realm. It doesn't make sense. Are you sure he didn't disguise himself? I'm not completely sure, but he seems to know our committee of order very well, and he's not afraid to come into contact with us. In terms of position, I think he's completely hostile to the demon eyes, and he's very resolute and ruthless. Fong Lingxian reported to the screen, Our mission in Paris has been without any clues in recent months. From the intelligence, the demon eye's nuclear materials disappeared after being transported to Paris. After Sasa's identity was exposed, I followed the clues of the Doomsday Gang and found that Sasa had dealings with the international arms dealer, Alamov, who had been silenced. The Doomsday Gang's smuggling and drug trafficking network might have once transported nuclear materials to Paris, but the ordinary members of the Doomsday Gang don't know about it. The situation in Paris is very chaotic now, and our intelligence station has lost some people. If we want to investigate now, we won't be able to. Our previous relationships and intelligence network in Paris are basically paralyzed. I hope the headquarters can send experts to support us, or consider further contacting Luoan and pulling him into our operation as foreign aid. Pull Luoan in and invite an unknown summoner as foreign aid? The eyes of the man on the screen suddenly sharpened, and he pondered for a moment. Are you serious? Fong Lingxian said without thinking, I've thought about it many times these days. Pulling Luoan in can make him work for us. On the one hand, we can use him. We lack the support of powerhouses above 6th elemental realm in Paris, and we're too weak. It's too difficult to mobilize powerhouses of this level from headquarters, and it's also very eye-catching. For example, the operation of the Doomsday Gang and the Jackal Gang a few days ago almost caused us to be annihilated. In addition, we can continue to confirm his identity. If he's not Luoan, we can find out his purpose of pretending to be Luoan and his relationship with Luoan and China. If he's really Luoan, then how did an ordinary Chinese student advance to 7th elemental realm within 3 years after coming to Paris? I think there might be many things hidden behind this that are worth exploring. I'll consider it. However, the transfer of rare realm beads requires the consent of the headquarters. It depends on the old man's intentions. During this time, continue to maintain contact with the target. At the same time, don't give up on the Doomsday Gang. Once those nuclear materials are used by the demon eyes to create nuclear weapons or to create demon spirits in batches, it might bring disastrous consequences. Yes, the people from China's French branch will arrive in Paris in 2 days. They have an elite team that is also investigating the nuclear materials. Previously, this team was following up on the kidnapping of several nuclear physicists in Europe. After arriving in Paris, they will contact you. This is a joint operation. Fong Lingxian frowned slightly. Does China know about Luoan? The Committee of Order and the Dragon Group share intelligence in Europe. If they didn't know, you wouldn't have been able to see Luoan's information in China. After the call ended, the middle-aged man with slightly gray hair disappeared from the screen. Fong Lingxian looked at Luoan's information on the screen again. She had a feeling that the Dragon Group didn't come to Paris solely to investigate the nuclear materials. A powerful summoner at the Seven Sun Realm was a top-notch talent no matter where he was. Luoan's previous display of his ability to wipe out the Doomsday Gang and the Jackal Gang had probably attracted the Dragon Group's attention. Hopefully, Those old fogies from the Order Committee wouldn't be stingy this time, and hurry up and bring over the rare realm pearl. Faintly, Fong Lingyin felt that Luoan might become the breakthrough point for their mission this time. This was a woman's intuition. Lingshan actually said that she didn't know or have never seen this man before. There must be some secret behind this. It had been almost 20 days since they left the god-slaying bug world. Xia Pingon got up and dispersed the soul power protection barrier. He moved his body a little, and the blood in his entire body started to circulate rapidly again, returning to normal. Everything in the conch shell was fine, which meant that everything was normal here these days. Then, Xia Pingon followed the conch shell and came to the bottom, where he saw Lu Yiqian. Lu Yiqian was sickly and listless, and even his fur had withered. When he saw Xia Pingon, he immediately became energetic and started chirping in the cage, dancing with joy. Xia Pingon looked at the cage and the blood on the ground, then looked at Lu Yiqian's missing front teeth. He laughed out loud. Lu Yiqian, you really used your teeth to grind this cage. How ruthless. I didn't misjudge you. Chirp 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 chirp. Lu Yiqian tossed and turned in the cage, not knowing what he wanted to say. Seeing that you've stayed in the cage for so long, I'll bring you out to get some fresh air today. After saying that, Xia Pingon put away the water-repelling pearl and directly left the conch shell. In the blink of an eye, he flew to the desolate island next to it. This was really a desolate place. The appearance of the island had almost never changed. It was the same as when Xia Pingon came that day. On the desolate island, there were scattered conch shells everywhere on the beach. There was nothing else. Looking at the empty scenery and the slowly endless sea, Xia Pingon felt relaxed and happy. His efforts these days had not been in vain. He had made a doppelganger, and it would be convenient for him to return to Earth in the future. Now, he only needed a few seconds to switch bodies between his main body and doppelganger. Xia Pingon threw the cage containing Lu Yiqian into the sea and let the waves wash Lu Yiqian more than 10 times. It could be considered as giving Lu Yiqian a bath. When it was about time, he took the cage back. Lu Yiqian's entire body was dripping wet, like a skinny chicken that had lost all its feathers. He lay in the cage, and after vomiting seawater for a long time, he glanced at Xia Pingon, who didn't care about him at all. He suddenly stretched his hand out of the cage and wrote a line of words on the beach. Do you want the realm pearl? Chapter 509. The crashing waves splashed on the beach, and those few words were especially eye-catching. After Lu Yiqian finished writing, he opened his eyes wide and looked up at Xia Pingon with a cute and innocent expression. Xia Pingon looked at Lu Yiqian and then at the words on the ground, and his eyes narrowed. Lu Yiqian naturally wouldn't be kind enough to give him the realm pearl. He was only using the realm pearl as bait to lure him in. However, he did need the realm pearl. Xia Pingon thought for a moment and suddenly smiled. Are you trying to trick me? Where do you have a realm pearl? I've already taken everything in your secret altar. When Lu Yiqian heard Xia Pingon's reply, he immediately became spirited. He reached out and smoothed the sand on the ground and wrote again, I have a realm pearl somewhere else. Oh, is that so? Where do you have a realm pearl? Xia Pingon asked calmly. Inside the cage, Lu Yiqian pointed to the ground, then pointed to his own neck, making a few squeaking noises. Xia Pingon made a hand seal and pointed at Lu Yiqian. A green light flew onto Lu Yiqian's body, and Lu Yiqian felt a chill in his throat, as if a lock had been unlocked. His tongue also seemed to have changed a little and became much more flexible. He immediately regained the ability to speak. What kind of mystic technique was this? It could turn him into a monkey and decide whether he could speak at any time. Lu Yiqian had never heard of this mystic technique before, and he was secretly shocked. I was an 8-sun realm expert before, so of course I had a realm pearl. I just didn't have it with me. Lu Yiqian spoke. His voice had the characteristics of a monkey's voice, which was abnormally sharp and slightly hoarse. It was very unpleasant to hear, but his words could be heard clearly. He grabbed the cage with both hands and looked at Xia Pingan. That's right. It would be abnormal if an 8-sun realm expert didn't have a realm pearl. I was wondering why you didn't have a realm pearl on you. There's nothing wrong with your words. If you can take out a realm pearl, we can have a good chat. Xia Pingan smiled and sat cross-legged on the beach, casually chatting with Lu Yiqian. Lu Yiqian became a little more spirited. May I ask, I have no enmity with you, why did you scheme against me? Xia Pingan laughed and said seriously with a simple and honest expression, look at what you're saying. Who said I can't scheme against you if I have no enmity with you? You're treating me like an outsider. You're saying such childish things at your age. Lu Yiqian's face twitched when he heard this. He didn't know what to say. Xia Pingan continued. Didn't we come to the god-slaying insect realm to find opportunities? An 8-sun realm expert has become a drowning dog. How can I miss this opportunity? Don't you think so? If you could scheme against other 8-sun realm, 9-sun realm, and demigod realm experts, would you miss it? I definitely wouldn't, Lu Yiqian immediately said. However, just as he finished speaking, a bright electric light appeared from Xia Pingan's hand and landed on the cage. Lu Yiqian, who was in the cage, was caught off guard and screamed in pain from the electric current. The wet hair all over his body stood up and steamed. His hand that was holding onto the cage, and the soles of his feet that were stepping on the cage, suddenly emitted smoke and burned. His entire consciousness in his head instantly stopped in that electric light. His entire body fell into the cage, twitching and paralyzing for half a minute. Only then did Lu Yiqian come back to his senses. Panting, he stood up again and looked at Xia Pingan with lingering fear in his eyes. Xia Pingan was still smiling honestly. He raised a finger in front of him, but his tone was inexplicably cold. Remember the rules when communicating with me. Don't pretend to be a big shot in front of me and play tricks. To be honest, I gave you a chance to speak not because I wanted to listen to your lies and tell me how noble your character is, but because I want you to bring me benefits. Otherwise, why do you think I raised a monkey? I have hundreds of ways to make you understand. Nod if you understand. Lu Yiqian quickly nodded. Okay, let's continue. Where were you just now? Xia Pingan smiled. Who are you? My name is not important. In order not to implicate my family and others, I used a fake name when I came to the god-slaying insect realm. You only need to remember one thing. If you don't know how to address me, you can call me Master. Xia Pingan said with a smile. These words were both true and false. They could mislead Lu Yiqian's suspicions about his identity to other places, making him unable to figure out his background. Being together with someone like Lu Yiqian, Xia Pingan was constantly having a battle of wits with this guy and reminding him to be careful. Master. Lu Yiqian's face stiffened. Yes, from now on I'm your master, and your life is mine. You probably don't understand your situation, so I'll explain it to you now. You've been hit by my form-sealing secret technique. If I don't remove it for you, you can only be a monkey forever. At the same time, if I die, the form-sealing secret technique on your body will collapse and explode, instantly blowing you into a pile of minced meat. You'll be buried with me. I know you're ruthless enough. You're an 8-sun realm expert, sinister and cunning. You've done many glorious deeds in the past, and can be considered a top figure. If you want to scheme against me in the future, think about what I'm telling you first. Don't act smart and throw your life away. You knew me from before. Lu Yiqian was completely flustered. His expression changed once again. Even with his usual gloominess, his mind was in chaos. If this person in front of him died, he would be buried with him. Moreover, this person knew me from before. If he hadn't been schemed against and turned into a monkey, Lu Yiqian would have doubted Xia Pingan's words. However, He was already in a cage and couldn't do anything about it. His life was completely in someone else's hands. Xia Pinggan's words were much more convincing to Lu Yiqian. There were truths and lies in those words, but Lu Yiqian couldn't distinguish them and thought that he had been targeted by Xia Pinggan since long ago. I've been watching you for a long time. If it weren't for the fact that you and the people from the Blood Demon Church were both injured, I wouldn't have been able to find a chance to attack you. My master was right. Evil is the source of happiness. Xia Pinggan laughed honestly. Evil is the source of happiness? This person is from the extermination sect? Or is he from the Een God sect? Or is he related to those old farts? This person is proficient in formations and mechanisms. He's not someone that can be nurtured by an ordinary sect. Xia Pinggan's casual words caused the cunning Lu Yiqian to turn his eyes and swallow his saliva. His mind filled with many things in an instant. That's right. How did you end up fighting with the people from the Blood Demon sect? Have they already captured Xia Pinggan? Xia Pinggan asked deliberately. That's a coincidence, Lu Yiqian said. As soon as he said that, electric sparks landed on the cage again. Lu Yiqian once again experienced the terrifying electric torture that almost caused him to go into shock. When he regained consciousness, he was shaking all over. He looked at Xia Pinggan with eyes full of fear. Think carefully before you speak. Xia Pinggan smiled. In Lu Yiqian's eyes, that smile was like the devil's. I'll talk. I discovered that the people from the Blood Demon sect have captured Xia Pinggan. Lu Yiqian said hurriedly. How did you discover that? When Lu Yiqian recounted what happened, 2 more electric sparks flashed. Lu Yiqian, who was in the cage, was almost charred on the outside and tender on the inside, and was on the verge of collapse. He finally told everything about how he met Chui Li in Green Summit City, how he met Chui Li's incarnation, how he released the soul-seizing goo, how he discovered that Chui Li might be Xia Pinggan, and how he was captured by the Blood Demon sect. Until now, Lu Yiqian still believed in the information sent by his soul-seizing goo. Lu Yiqian absolutely didn't believe that someone could spit out the soul-seizing goo that had been swallowed. This was simply impossible. Even he couldn't do it, let alone a 6-sun realm summoner. After Lu Yiqian finished explaining, Xia Pinggan could confirm that this guy was finally more honest. In that case, Xia Pinggan has already died at the hands of the Blood Demon sect's Golden Moon Palace Lord. Xia Pinggan deliberately asked with a frown. That's definitely the case. However, I reckon that the Golden Moon Palace Lord hasn't completed the sacrifice and only killed Xia Pinggan. At most, he can only obtain the eternal body bestowed by the demon god sovereign. Lu Yiqian said with melancholy. Xia Pinggan sighed. What a pity. What a good opportunity. Lu Yiqian also sighed sorrowfully and shed tears. This encounter was the turning point of his life. He didn't get Xia Pinggan and even lost himself to this person's scheme. You don't have to sigh. My goal in entering the god-slaying bug world this time is to advance to the 9-sun realm. I can promise you that as long as I can advance to the 9-sun realm, the day I advance will be the day I return your freedom. At that time, I will completely remove your form sealing technique and set you free. Therefore, it's not that you don't have a chance to regain your freedom. As long as you can help me increase my strength as quickly as possible, the time you have to be my slave will be shortened as much as possible. Xia Pinggan threw Lu Yiqian a ray of hope. Lu Yiqian's eyes lit up, as if a little light had been ignited, but his tone was still somewhat doubtful. Really? Xia Pinggan was serious, and his tone was compassionate. Cough cough. Heaven will always leave a way out. Although tricking others is the foundation of happiness, and although I schemed to use you as a sacrificial pawn on my path of cultivation, my master also said that we have to do things in accordance with the way of heaven. We can't leave no way out for others. That would be going against heaven, and it would make heaven unhappy. Only by leaving a way out for others will it be in accordance with heaven's will. Therefore, even if we set up the 10 ultimate formations, we have to leave a way out for others. This way, the path to becoming a demigod will be smoother. The way out and hope I leave for you is to assist me in advancing to the 9-sun realm. Whether you can grab hold of it, or eventually be buried with me, will depend on your ability. I racked my brains to trick you because I fancy your ability, and I want you to help me. Lu Yiqian stared blankly at Xia Pingan for a long time. Suddenly, he knelt down in the cage, tears streaming down his face. He kowtowed 3 times to Xia Pingan, and then he ruthlessly bit his finger, raised a monkey claw and swore, "From today onwards, I, Lu Yiqian, will wholeheartedly assist Master in advancing to the 9-sun realm, and will never betray you. If I, Lu Yiqian, violate this oath, may I die a horrible death." Xia Pingan also raised his hand and swore, "If I don't give Lu Yiqian his freedom after he assists me in advancing to the 9-sun realm, and I don't remove his form-sealing technique, may I be abandoned by my sect, and may the fiend god overlord hunt me down forever. Master." Monkey. Separated by the cage, the man and monkey looked at each other affectionately. Lu Yiqian's monkey eyes were filled with tears of hope. Xia Pingan looked at Lu Yiqian with a comforting and hopeful gaze, and even he himself was almost moved. Cough cough, that's right, let's get back to the topic, where were we? Realm Pearl, where do you have more realm pearls? Xia Pingan asked. Lu Yiqian wiped his tears and immediately said, "Master, I still have realm pearls in 2 places. Oh, you still have realm pearls in 2 places, which 2 places? One place is Undying Sea's Sea Snake Island, I hid 2 realm pearls there, and the other place is Crouching Dragon Island's 1000 Treasure Hall, there are 3 realm pearls in 1000 Treasure Hall." Lu Yiqian obediently said. Chapter 510. 5 days later, 60 miles away from Sea Snake Island in the Undying Sea, Xia Pingan was flying in the sky with a cage in his hand. Lu Yiqian was inside the cage. At this moment, Sea Snake Island had already appeared in his sight. It was only a few hundred square kilometers large. Being far away from Cloud Island, it was one of the numerous islands scattered in the Undying Sea. Of course, this Sea Snake Island was much more prosperous than the island where Xia Pingan hid in the conch shell before. The surrounding waters of Sea Snake Island were blue waves and silver sands. The seawater here was crystal clear. Looking down from the sky, Zhang Tai could see large and small sandbars and islets in the sea from time to time. Many sandbars and islets were covered with large coconut trees. The scenery here was pretty good. If it was a vacation, such a place would definitely be a holy place. It was just that the people coming and going here were all summoners. As summoners who came to the god-slaying bug realm, probably not many had the intention of coming here for a vacation. The summoners who came here were all here for various cultivation resources. From time to time, summoners would fly across the sky. There were all kinds of summoners who came to god-killing insect realm, including many pets. It was not strange for Xia Pingan to carry a cage with a pitiful monkey in it. At most, they would throw a few more glances at him when they passed by him. "Monkey, you used to be an 8 Suns realm summoner, but you only have 2 realm pearls on the Sea Snake Island. Do you feel a little shabby? Is it because you haven't opened your heart to me and are still worried about me? I feel that you still need to continue helping and saving you so that you won't go down the wrong path." Xia Pingan smacked his lips as he flew and glanced at Lu Yixian, who was in the cage. With only one glance, Lu Yiqian's face had been filled with horror as his hair almost stood on end. His blood froze all over while his muscles became stiff. It almost became a conditioned reflex. In the past few days, Lu Yiqian had a lot of heart-to-hearts with Xia Pingan. However, Xia Pingan's fingers with lightning sparks had also pointed at him many times. Xia Pingan said that the latter was to help and save him. It was for his own good so that he would not go astray. This way, they could have a better heart-to-heart. Lu Yiqian almost knelt down. With a long face, he hurriedly explained while staring at Xia Pinggan's fingers, fearing that lightning sparks would appear on his fingers again. Master, I'm innocent. I really only have 2 realm beads on this island. After reaching the 8 Suns realm, I've almost fused all the realm beads that can be fused. There are very few realm beads that haven't been fused, and it's very difficult to find one. As for those realm beads that have been fused, there's no need for us to deliberately collect them. Even if we get them, we will exchange them for other cultivation resources and rarer realm beads or leave them for our sect or junior disciples. I'm all alone, so those realm beads that have been fused are useless to me and I don't need to leave them for anyone. I've already exchanged them for other things. Now, I only have a few realm beads that I haven't fused with yet. At the same time, I'm not confident in fusing with them, so I'm keeping them. I want to see if I can find the corresponding spirit sense crystal. If Master doesn't believe me, you can go to the Million Treasure Hall and ask if I've exchanged for many realm beads in the past few years. You're being so loud. Are you trying to attract the attention of other summoners? Xia Pinggan smiled. No, Master told me to shut up, so I shut up. Lu Yiqian hurriedly closed his mouth that was missing his front teeth. The reason you just gave is reasonable. Let me take a look first. With just this sentence, Lu Yiqian almost shed tears of gratitude. As Xia Pinggan spoke, he casually pointed at Lu Yiqian. With a flash of light, Lu Yiqian once again felt his throat tighten. His tongue was tied, and he instantly lost the ability to speak. Lu Yiqian knew that Xia Pinggan was worried about him and didn't want him to make a ruckus when there were people around, so he took back his ability to speak. He also became well-behaved and stayed in the cage, not daring to look around. Xia Pinggan waved his hand, and a layer of black cloth covered the outside of the iron cage. The people outside couldn't see what was inside, and Lu Yiqian couldn't see anyone or anything outside. Those who didn't know would think that he was raising a bird in the cage. In order to keep a person honest, the simplest and most effective method was to cut off information from the other party. Soon, Xia Pinggan flew to the Sea Snake Island. Looking down from the sky, he could see that in the southeast of the Sea Snake Island, there was a huge sea snake fossil more than 2,000 meters long on the island. That was how the Sea Snake Island got its name. The huge sea serpent fossil was a wonder of the world on Earth, but here no one was interested in it. Not many people took a second look at it. In the middle of the Sea Snake Island there was a small lake. Beside the lake was the gathering area of the summoners on the Sea Snake Island. They formed a few medium-sized towns and looked quite lively. After flying around the island, Xia Pinggan threw a glance at Lu Yiqian's residence. Lu Yiqian's residence was beside the lake in the center of the island, which was the most lively place on the island. Many small courtyards were around the lake. Xia Pinggan was not in a hurry to go to Lu Yiqian's courtyard. Instead, he flew to a town over 6 miles away and landed on the bustling street of the town. After walking on the street for a while, Xia Pinggan saw a magnificent 6-story boat on the street. Many summoners were coming and going here. The aroma of the dishes in the boat could be smelt on the street. Therefore, Xia Pinggan directly entered the boat with the cage covered with black cloth. "Sir, are you alone?" The waiter who was summoned immediately greeted him with a smile. I'm alone. Just find me a table," Xia Pinggan said as he glanced around the boat. The dishes in the boat were almost all kinds of seafood from the undead sea. "All right, sir, please follow me." The waiter quickly brought Xia Pinggan to the second floor of the boat, found a small square table, and invited Xia Pinggan to sit down. "Just give me a few of your signature dishes," Xia Pinggan said as he put the cage under the table. "All right, please wait a moment, sir." Judging from the aura of the people in the boat, almost all of them were 6 Sun Realm summoners. There was almost no 7 Sun Realm summoners in the boat. The seabed of the sea near the Sea Snake Island produced several precious herbs and special minerals unique to the Undead Sea. There were fewer chances to obtain realm pearls here, so most of the summoners gathered on the Sea Snake Island were 6 Sun Realm summoners. These summoners either sat alone or in groups of 2s and 3s. They ate and drank while chatting. It was no different from a gathering of ordinary people. Therefore, the Boit was quite lively. This kind of place was also the easiest place to hear all kinds of news. Xia Pingon summoned the Boy of Fortune with a thought. The Boy of Fortune mischievously jumped on Xia Pingon's body twice before disappearing in a flash. Xia Pingon asked the Boy of Fortune to investigate Lu Yiqian's residence first to see if there were any traps or dangers around the residence, and whether the realm pearl that Lu Yiqian had mentioned was in the place where he had hidden it. Xia Pingon didn't dare to be careless against a crafty old fox like Lu Yiqian. Who knew if Lu Yiqian had prepared a trap here and deliberately led him to jump into it? In short, there was nothing wrong with being careful. There was no need to be in a hurry. Sir, your food and wine are here. This is the Snow Wave wine specially brewed in this restaurant. This jug of wine is on the house. The waiter quickly served Xia Pingon the food and wine. There were 3 dishes, 1 soup, and a jug of wine. It looked quite delicious. Xia Pingon perked up his ears to listen to the summoner's conversations in the Boit as he ate. Suddenly, a keyword in the conversation of a table of guests near the window attracted Xia Pingon's attention. Have you heard? Skyflower Island sank 2 days ago. Old Freak Tianhua was a 9 Sun Realm expert and was 1 step away from becoming a demigod. He was actually forced to flee for his life and even lost his foundation in the Undead Sea. I heard about it too. The ones who attacked seemed to be 2 elders from the Wan Xin sect. Old Freak Tianhua was seriously injured. I don't know how Old Freak Tianhua provoked the Wan Xin sect, but the 2 murderous gods from the Wan Xin sect came to kill him directly. Who doesn't know that the people from the Wan Xin sect are the most difficult to deal with? The elders of the Wan Xin sect had finally arrived. Old Monster Tianhua had finally tasted the taste of retribution. He had become a stray dog. TSK, good news. Xia Pingon raised his wine cup and the corners of his mouth curled up slightly. Chapter 5:11. Have you heard that a large number of experts from the Blood Demon Church have arrived at the Undying Sea? Of course, I have heard of such a big matter. Previously, I heard from a few big shots that the experts of the Blood Demon Church came to the Undead Sea to look for Xia Pingon. The Blood Demon Church seemed to have discovered something and even fought with someone on the Cloud Island. I also heard that the center of the anomaly when the Sage Master was born was in the Undying Sea. The Blood Demon Church thinks that it has something to do with Xia Pingon. Is Xia Pingon also in the Undying Sea? TSK. Whoever can find Xia Pingon will be rich and might even become a god. Xia Pingon listened while eating. During this meal, Xia Pingon also heard a lot of news about the Undying Sea in the restaurant. Among them, there were 2 important news. One was related to the 10,000 Deities sect. After the 10,000 Deities sect's Undying City was destroyed, 2 elders rushed to the Undying Sea and finally stabilized the situation in the 10,000 Deities sect. At the same time, they chased after Old Monster Tianhua, causing a huge commotion. Apart from the Wan Xin sect, the most popular topic in the Undying Sea was him. With the arrival of the experts from the Blood Demon Church, the rumor that Xia Pingon was in the Undying Sea began to spread. Many of the diners in the restaurant were talking about it enthusiastically. On the surface, Xia Pingon was eating without batting an eyelid, but his heart was secretly palpitating. He couldn't stay in the Undying Sea any longer. It was too lively. He had to leave immediately after getting the Realm Pearl. Apart from the Blood Demon Church, there were definitely a large number of people like Lu Yiqian who wanted his life. Child of Fortune had already returned. He carefully checked the inside and outside of Lu Yiqian's house and didn't find any abnormalities. There were no traps or special arrangements. This made Xia Pingan slightly relieved. Seeing that it was about time, Xia Pingan asked the waiter to settle the bill. "Sir, it'll be 80 gold coins." The waiter walked over with a smile. Xia Pingan put down the 80 gold coins, turned around and left the restaurant, and went to the street outside. The bosses who opened restaurants and served summoners in the god-slaying insect world might be the real winners of the god-slaying insect world. Each and every summoner who came here wanted to get realm pearls, divine springs, and all kinds of rare resources. They treated gold coins like copper coins. And these people who ran businesses here, as long as they did well, they could make tens or even hundreds of times more profit. After accumulating for a long time, it was very terrifying. Others wanted to come to the god-slaying insect realm to dig for gold, but these people were selling shovels in the god-slaying insect realm. This was the business with the least risk and a guaranteed profit. If it wasn't for his special situation, Xia Pingan would have wanted to become a lifestyle player here. Less than half a mile after leaving the restaurant, he arrived in front of an inn. The rooms in this inn were all small courtyards suitable for summoners. Xia Pingan first asked for a small courtyard and set up the tortoiseshell 5 elements inverted 8 trigrams sword array in the courtyard. Then, he left Lu Yiqian in the courtyard and went out by himself, soaring into the sky. After hiding in the sky, Xia Pingan arrived in the sky above Lu Yiqian's small courtyard on the Sea Snake Island in a moment. He descended from the sky and took out the key that Lu Yiqian used to open the courtyard's restriction. Without triggering the restriction in the courtyard, Xia Pingan easily entered the courtyard. Lu Yiqian was a cunning old fox, and this courtyard was one of his 3 burrows. He hid 2 realm pearls here, but he did the opposite. The whole courtyard only had ordinary guard restrictions and no array protection. When others saw it, they would think that this was the residence of an ordinary summoner. Even if this place was often empty, others wouldn't think that there was anything good here. They wouldn't think that it was the hiding place of an 8-sun realm expert on the Sea Snake Island, and they wouldn't risk fighting with the owner of this place to break in. Therefore, it was safe. It was like a guy in rags walking on the street with millions of dollars in a 5-yuan snakeskin bag. It wouldn't arouse others' jealousy. Instead, it was the safest place. After opening the door of the outer courtyard and entering the empty living room, Xia Pingan glanced over the structure of the living room. Then, he immediately jumped onto the beam. At the place where a pillar and the beam of the roof were in contact, Xia Pingan groped for a while and gently removed a wooden wedge that was used for mortise and tenon structure on the beam. Inside the beam, under the wooden wedge, there was a groove where 2 pearls were wrapped in cotton cloth. After removing the cotton cloth, the 2 realm pearls appeared in front of Xia Pingan's eyes. One of the pearls was golden, and there were 4 small words on it: "Stone Ox paved the way." The other one was black, solemn and deep, and there seemed to be drops of tears flowing inside it. There were 3 golden words on it: "Falling Tears Steal." Lu Yiqian was cunning and experienced, but he didn't know what kind of things could be summoned or what kind of spells could be used after fusing with this Stone Ox paved the way realm pearl. Because in the circle of summoners, except for some realm pearls that had been exposed and known to the public, there were many rare realm pearls that could be summoned after fusing with them. This was a secret that was extremely valuable. Even if ordinary people succeeded in fusing with it, they wouldn't easily tell others what kind of summoning spells they could obtain after fusing with the realm pearl. However, Lu Yiqian knew what the Falling Tears Steel could summon. According to him, after fusing with this realm pearl, one could summon a mysterious and powerful stone steel. Once the stone steel was summoned, it could make the other parties summon soldiers, battle dolls, and formations to cease their fighting spirit. This spell was naturally very useful, but there were too few divine sense crystals that could be compatible with this realm pearl. There weren't many summoners who had fused with this realm pearl. Without a divine sense crystal, The success rate of fusing with this realm pearl was less than 1 in 1,000, and the failure rate was close to 40%. Therefore, even if he had the realm pearl, Lui Qian didn't dare to fuse with it. Xia Pingan put away the 2 realm pearls, put the wooden wedge back in place, and flew down the beam. He walked out of the house and came to the courtyard. He directly rose into the air and disappeared into the sky in the blink of an eye. Xia Pingan concealed his figure and circled around in the air. After confirming that no one was following or paying attention to him, he leisurely returned to the courtyard of his inn. Lui Qian was still locked in the cage and didn't know anything. He was a complete enigma, and didn't even know if Xia Pingan had left the house. Xia Pingan didn't pay attention to Lui Qian. He went to the cultivation room in the courtyard, took out the realm pearl, and fused with it. The first realm pearl that Xia Pingan took out was the stone ox to open the way. In a short while, Xia Pingan's whole body was wrapped in a cocoon of light. When he opened his eyes, he saw a majestic man sitting on the throne in the grand hall of the Qin state. It was King Qin Hui. In the grand hall, there was also an old general with a full beard and armor, who was giving an impassioned speech. Xia Pingan himself was wearing the armor of a general, standing in front of a group of generals. Who am I? Xia Pingan was a little confused at this time. He didn't fully understand his role at the moment, so he remained silent and observed the situation in the grand hall. Your Majesty, the most difficult thing for our army to conquer Shu is not war, but the road to Shu. It is difficult for carriages and horses to pass through. In many places, 1 man can hold the pass against 10,000 men. It is difficult for our army to reach there. If we dig a road to Shu from the outside, it will cost a lot of money and take a long time. We will also be harassed by Shu, which will make the Shu army take precautions. If the 2 armies confront each other on the road to Shu for a long time, it will be extremely disadvantageous to our army. The old general's voice was loud and impassioned, and everyone in the grand hall could hear it. My lords, although it is difficult to build a road, don't you have a comprehensive plan to destroy Shu? Ba and Shu are fighting each other. This is a good opportunity. King Qin Hui sat on the throne, looked around and asked. All the ministers in the grand hall were silent. They all looked embarrassed or avoided King Qin Hui's eyes. Everyone knew that the road to Shu was difficult. Now that the Qin state wanted to destroy Shu, who had the ability to open the road to Shu so easily, this kind of thing couldn't be solved by just talking. Your Majesty, I think we can postpone the discussion of destroying Shu. A man standing at the head of the civil officials walked out. He was wearing the crown of the Prime Minister, and he had a beautiful mustache above his lips. He looked dignified and eloquent. The most important thing for the Qin state now is to solve the threat of Korea to the east of the Qin state. How dare Korea send troops to attack the Qin state? It is really abominable. We can't tolerate it. Only by defeating Korea, taking Sanchuan County and opening the road to Yang can Qin state dominate the world. Chapter 5:12. As soon as the man opened his mouth, Xia Pingan knew that he must be Zhang Yi. Zhang Yi entered the Qin Empire and was recognized by King Qin Hui. He was now the Prime Minister. Zhang Yi had been advocating for the Qin Empire to attack the Han Kingdom. Ba State and Shu State are just small countries. At this moment, when the 2 countries are fighting, it seems that Qin State can gain an advantage, but the road to Shu State is very difficult. If we don't open the Chisel-Shu Road, it will be difficult for Qin State's army to enter Shu State. But once we open the Chisel-Shu Road, Ba State and Shu State will immediately know that Qin State wants to annex Shu State. Their disputes will immediately stop and they will definitely unite to resist Qin State. In this way, Qin State has spent a lot of effort, but not only did we fail to annex Shu State, but also let Shu State unite. At the same time, we let Korea continue to attack Qin State's border and give Qin State an opportunity. Many of the officials in the hall heard Zhang Yi's words and nodded secretly. they whispered to each other. King Qin was also tempted. However, he was still hesitant. King Qin had long wanted to conquer the Chisel Shu Road. He wanted to destroy this small country in the southwest hinterland of the Qin Empire. He wanted to strengthen the Qin Empire's power and expand the Qin Empire's territory. Now that the Chisel Shu Road was fighting with each other, they both wanted the Qin Empire's help. If the Qin Empire just sat there and watched, they would miss the opportunity. King Qinhui's eyes scanned the crowd and finally landed on Xia Pingan's face. He saw that Xia Pingan had been silent and calm in the hall. King Qinhui couldn't help but have an idea. General Sima, you once advocated for the annexation of the Chisel Shu Road. Right now, in the hall, do you have a good plan? General Sima? He was indeed Sima Qiuo. Note, Xia Pingan thought to himself. Seeing that everyone was looking at him, he took 2 steps forward and bowed to King Qinhui. Your Majesty, regarding the Prime Minister's words, I do not agree. Oh! King Qinhui was suddenly energized. General, please elaborate. If my Qin Empire wants to dominate the world, the strategy is just an auxiliary. The foundation is to make the country rich and the people strong. We need to have a vast territory, a well-stocked warehouse, a surplus of strength and sufficient provisions. This is the foundation of dominating the world. If Qin Empire can annex Shu land, it will greatly increase our national strength, and we will also have one less problem. This will allow Qin Empire to gain the upper hand in the war with other countries. But if we attack South Korea and threaten the Emperor of Zhou, not only will we not gain any benefits, but we will also have a bad reputation. If Zhou and Han are in danger, they will definitely join forces with Qi and Zhao, and Qi and Zhao will not sit back and watch. At this moment, if Qin Empire attacks South Korea and threatens the Emperor of Zhou, not only will we not gain any benefits, but we will also have a bad reputation. If Zhou and Han are in danger, they will certainly join forces with Qi and Zhao will not sit back and watch. The Chisel Shu Road is difficult. How can our army enter Chisel Shu Road? King Qinhui asked. My king, I have a plan that can solve the problem of the Shu Dao. Destroying Shu will be as easy as flipping my hand. He Su. This plan is a military secret. It is not appropriate to announce it here. Xia Pingan smiled. Your Majesty, leave it to me. I can ask the King of Shu to fix the Chisel Shu Road. When the time comes, the Qin Empire can easily enter the Chisel Shu Road and destroy the Chisel Shu Road. Then, the Chisel Shu Road will become the territory of the Qin Empire. King Qinhui was overjoyed. He almost stood up from his throne. General, are you serious? The other officials also looked at Xia Pingan with suspicion. What a joke! Does he think the King of Shu is a fool? We are going to attack the Chisel Shu Road, and you want the King of Shu to fix the Chisel Shu Road for us? Xia Pingan said confidently. Your Majesty and all the officials, please wait and see. If I cannot do it, I am willing to give my head to you. Although King Qinhui favored Zhang Yi, he was also very opinionated. When he heard that Xia Pingan already had a plan to conquer Shu, it was exactly what he wanted. Thus, King Qinhui made the decision. Between attacking Han and attacking Shu, he immediately chose the latter. In the end, Xia Pingan and Zhang Yi were both given a heavy responsibility by King Qinhui. King Qinhui put the two of them in charge of conquering the Chisel Shu Road. Giving Zhang Yi the heavy responsibility of conquering the Chisel Shu Road showed how shrewd King Qinhui was. After the court, the machinery of the Qin Empire started to move slowly. Just as Xia Pingan walked out of the Qin palace, he heard a voice behind him. General Sima, please wait. Xia Pingan turned around and saw Zhang Yi walking towards him with a smile. Zhang Yi was from the school of vertical and horizontal. Schools of vertical and horizontal were all thick-skinned and relied on their tongues to make a living. He did not take what happened in the court to heart. Actually, Zhang Yi could tell that the one who really wanted to conquer the Chisel Shu Road was still King Qinhui. King Qinhui had probably thought about it for more than a day, which was why he was so determined to support Sima Qiu. As a school of vertical and horizontal, Zhang Yi naturally did not want to make King Qinhui unhappy. He wanted to go against his wishes, so he immediately went to find Sima Qiu to discuss the matter of conquering the Chisel Shu Road. Minister. Xia Pingan bowed slightly to Zhang Yi, who was walking towards him. What General Sima said makes sense. Please do not worry. Since His Majesty supports your suggestion, I will naturally support it as well. However, the Chisel Shu Road is the biggest obstacle for us to conquer the Chisel Shu Road. General, you said that you have a way to make the King of Shu open the way for us. Is that true? Of course. Xia Pingan nodded. Oh Heliangtse. Can I know? Minister, you will be attacking the Chisel Shu Road with me. Of course you can know. Xia Pingan turned his head and looked around. There was no one around, so he went to Zhang Yi's ear and whispered a few words. Zhang Yi's expression was first one of shock, then excitement and finally admiration. If this technique is successful, it will not be difficult for us to conquer the Chisel Shu Road. I hope that you will support me. Zhang Yi smiled. This is the merit that His Majesty and you are giving me. How can I reject it? In this battle, I will rely on General Sima. As for the logistics of the army, please do not worry. I will personally supervise it. The two of them looked at each other and smiled. They both had a tacit understanding. Once he returned to the general's residence, Xia Pingan immediately ordered his subordinates to find the best stonemason and goldsmith in the Qin kingdom. Half a month later, Xia Pingan took the opportunity of patrolling the border and brought a group of people to the border between the Qin kingdom and the Chisel kingdom. He personally inspected the Chisel Road. A group of the best craftsmen in the Qin kingdom was in Xia Pingan's team. On the surface, Xia Pingan was inspecting the Chisel Road. In fact, he arranged for the craftsmen to start working quietly. Xia Pingan set aside a special place in the military camp for the craftsmen to work. He even put a cow in there. The other soldiers were not allowed to get close. The craftsmen worked in the barracks for more than 10 days. One day, a subordinate came to report that the thing that Xia Pingan asked the craftsmen to do was completed. Xia Pingan personally went to check it out. When he arrived at the designated area, he saw that the stonemasons carved a lifelike stone cow out of stone. The goldsmiths took out a few big lumps of golden cow dung. Yes, it was cow dung. Cow dung made of gold, just like a real cow dung. Because the cow dung was too heavy, it took a lot of effort for one person to pick it up. It took 2 people to pick it up easily. Xia Pingan checked it and nodded. He called the craftsman over and pointed to the stone cow. The place where the cow's butt is, there should be some golden cow dung. It's more like, the craftsman immediately sighed in admiration. The general has sharp eyes. We didn't think it through. The goldsmiths and stonemasons discussed and immediately got busy. A few hours later, the rock's butt was stained with some golden cow dung and golden powder. Seeing that the things were ready, Xia Pingan immediately arranged for people to send the stone cow out of the military camp to the designated place tonight. A few days later, a group of soldiers at the Shu Pass patrolled the Shu Road outside the pass early in the morning as usual. Walking on the foggy Shu Road, when the sun came out, the patrolling Shu soldiers were shocked when they saw the stone cow on the Shu Road. When the Shu soldiers ran to the front of the stone cow to take a look, they were amazed. On the ground behind the stone cow's butt, there were a few big lumps of golden cow dung. It was real. At a glance, the cow dung looked like gold. The stone cow's butt was stained with some golden cow dung. It seemed that the cow dung was quite fresh. The Shu army officer took a bite of the cow dung and found that the cow dung was actually real gold. He immediately ordered the people around him to protect the stone cow and then inform the higher-ups. Hearing that the Shu army found a stone cow that could carry golden cow dung on the Shu road, the general at the pass heard the news and immediately rushed over to confirm it. The Shu army didn't dare to hide such a big matter and immediately reported it to the higher-ups. Soon, it was reported to the king of Shu. The lumps of golden cow dung were also handed over. Shu Imperial Palace. The king of Shu looked at the golden cow dung sent by his subordinates and bit it with his teeth. He immediately became excited. There was only one thought in the king of Shu's mind. This was an auspicious sign from the heavens. The heavens had chosen him and gave him a stone cow that could carry gold. He had to bring the stone cow to the imperial palace. He had to pick up cow dung in the imperial palace every day to reach the peak of his life. But the stone cow was big and heavy. If he wanted to transport the stone cow from the Shu road to the imperial palace, he had to repair the Shu road. The Shu road had to be repaired so that carriages and horses could travel. This was a waste of manpower and money. How could it be a problem to have golden cow dung? The king of Shu looked at the golden cow dung that was still stained with his saliva. He immediately waved his hand and ordered, "Open the Shu road. You must transport the stone cow that can pull gold to the palace for me. Whoever dares to compete with me for cow dung will be beheaded by me. The stone cow is mine, so the cow dung is mine." Ahahaha. Half a year later, the road to Shu was repaired. The Shu kingdom had wasted a lot of money and manpower, and complaints were heard everywhere. The king of Shu held a grand ceremony and welcomed the stone cow with golden cow dung on its buttocks into the palace. Every day, he had people put all kinds of grass, bean cakes, and other things in front of the stone cow, waiting for the stone cow to give him warm cow dung so that he could pick it up. The king of Shu even prepared a warehouse to store the golden cow dung. He was waiting to reach the peak of his life by picking up cow dung. But the stone cow didn't poop any cow dung. The Qin army followed the Shu road and easily drove the army to the imperial palace of Shu. Xia Pingan saw the fat king of Shu for the first time and was speechless. The stupidity of a ruler was almost vividly displayed by the king of Shu. Looking at the Qin army standing in front of him, the king of Shu shouted with a pale face, "I didn't expect I would be harmed by a few lumps of cow dung." Chapter 513. As the realm bead shattered, Xia Pingan's consciousness entered the secret temple of the mandala out of great curiosity. He wanted to see what kind of spell the realm bead that he had just fused with had brought him. A bronze relief of a stone cow clearing the way was in the temple. The bronze relief was the story of the stone cow clearing the way. In the relief, the stone cow of the Qin kingdom was glowing brightly. It was tied up by ropes and moving forward on the difficult path of Shu. The ropes were pulled by countless soldiers and soldiers of the Shu kingdom. Among them there were 5 people who were exceptionally strong. In front of the stone cow, they were dragging a giant mill and holding a giant shovel and other objects to clear the way. The 5 people who were clearing the way were also glowing brightly. They were summoning slots. Unexpectedly, the realm bead provided 2 summoning spells. Stone cow dung gold, 5 ding clears the way. The relief fully revealed the story. Xia Pingan immersed his consciousness into the summoning slot. He looked at the 5 ding clears and immediately understood. The 5 people who were clearing the way only needed 50 summoning slots to summon them together. After summoning the 5 ding clears, the 5 ding clears could be used to pave the way for the summoner. This was a labor support profession. It was somewhat rare, but there were not many uses for it for the summoner. Xia Pingan immersed his consciousness into the summoning slot of the stone cow and felt the mystery of this spell. In an instant, Xia Pingan was shocked. He felt his head buzzing and his mind trembling. His consciousness withdrew from the secret mandala. In the secret chamber, Xia Pingan opened his eyes. There was a look of disbelief and shock in his eyes. This stone cow that can be summoned. Could it be? Dung gold? Xia Pingan muttered to himself. The information he felt just now was too shocking, to the point that Xia Pingan was a little suspicious. He would know after trying. Summoning the stone cow consumed an astonishing amount of divine power. It required 360 points of divine power each time. However, in order to test whether the stone cow he summoned had such an ability, Xia Pingan directly summoned the stone cow. With a wave of his hand, a lifelike stone cow walked out of the mist beside Xia Pingan and entered the secret chamber. The stone cow had a strong physique and looked very lively. Although its body looked like a stone, its movements were no different from a real cow. Its eyes were shining with golden light. The summoned stone cow came to Xia Pingan and rubbed its head against Xia Pingan. It was very intimate. Xia Pingan looked around the underground secret chamber. There were not many metal objects in the secret chamber. There were only 2 copper lampstands with a fluorite on each lampstand. Xia Pingan pointed at the copper lampstands. The summoned stone cow came in front of the lampstands and ate the 2 copper lampstands as if they were grass. It left the fluorite behind. After waiting for a long time, the stone cow softly mooed. It raised its tail and revealed its bright red buttocks that looked like a steel furnace. It then pooped out a lump of cow dung. The cow dung fell to the ground with a burning aura. However, it solidified in the blink of an eye. It looked like a golden lump of cow dung. Xia Pingan waved his hand and brought the stone cow back to the secret altar. He then summoned a ball of water and dropped it on the burning cow dung on the ground. With a chi sound, water vapor rose and the burning cow dung completely cooled down. Xia Pingan picked up the piece of cow dung and looked at it. The cow dung was not large in size. It was heavy in his hand like a piece of cow dung art made by a bored sculptor. F***ck, but it's really gold. The weight of the cow dung in his hand was the same as that of the 2 copper lampstands. However, judging from its density and color, it was not copper, but real gold. Of course, Xia Pingan would not use his mouth to bite it. He only said 2 words, and with a slight force of his fingers, his 2 fingers were like knives, like iron scissors. In an instant, the piece of cow dung was cut into 2 from the middle. From the cut, one could see that the inside was also golden. It was real gold. F***ck. This was the dream of the ancient alchemists. The so-called alchemy was to turn base metals into precious metals, gold. Under the technological conditions of ancient times, alchemy was destined to be an extravagant hope. Even under the technological conditions of modern times, different metals could be made into gold by means of atomic bombardment. However, the cost of atomic bombardment was far higher than the negligible value of gold that could be made. Atomic bombardment only proved the possibility of turning base metals into precious metals through science and experiment. However, the stone cow could directly turn the metal it ate into gold and poop out. It required 360 divine power to summon it once. After the divine cow ate enough metal, it could poop out a pile of golden cow dung of the same weight. What it just pooped out was not even considered a pile. A pile of golden cow dung from the stone cow weighed about 20 to 30 kilograms. Ha ha ha, I won't be short of money in the future. Xia Pingan laughed. His expression was wonderful. Although he was not short of money now, mastering the summoning spell of the stone cow that could poop out golden cow dung was still of great practical significance to a summoner. For a summoner, even if they ran out of divine power, they could recover it every month. Once they recovered and mastered this summoning spell, they could summon the stone cow and poop out golden cow dung immediately. This summoning spell was the real benefit for a summoner. As long as a summoner mastered this spell, they would be able to bid farewell to poverty forever. It was just that this realm pearl was relatively rare. Even if one obtained a realm pearl, without a divine consciousness crystal, the chances of successfully fusing it were not high. At this moment, the upper limit of Xia Ping and Secret Mandala's divine power had increased to 7,788 points. It was an auspicious number, 88. Sure enough, he gained more divine power. After being happy for a while, Xia Pingan looked at the time. It had only been more than 2 hours since he entered the secret room for closed-door training. It was still early, and the sky was not dark yet. He could continue to fuse with the remaining realm pearl. Xia Pingan took out the remaining boundary pearl. The words, Falling Tears Tablet, were very conspicuous on the boundary pearl. Xia Pingan put away his smile and looked more respectful. This boundary pearl said that it belonged to Yang Hu, a famous official of the Western Jin dynasty. Xia Pingan also respected Yang Hu from the bottom of his heart. He was a person with great charisma, and even his enemies admired and respected him. When Yang Hu died, the soldiers guarding the border of the Wu kingdom shed tears for him. The people of the Jin dynasty built temples and erected tombstones to commemorate him. Every year, the people would also shed tears when they saw his tombstone. Hence, this was the origin of the Falling Tears Tablet. Blood dripped, and in the blink of an eye, Xia Pingan was surrounded by a black cocoon of light. Happy National Day, everyone! There's one more update tonight. Chapter 514. Lu Yiqian stayed muddle-headed in the dark cage for almost the whole night. From the voices outside, he knew that he was in an inn on Sea Snake Island. From the temperature difference outside, he knew that he had passed a night outside. Besides that, he didn't know anything else. On the second day, at daybreak, Lu Yiqian felt that his cage was lifted up by someone. After a short while, he had flown off. After flying for almost an hour, Lu Yiqian heard a lazy voice outside the cage. Well, I'm going to take off the cloth cover. Close your eyes and slowly adapt to it. If you become a blind monkey, don't blame me for not reminding you. After closing his eyes, Lu Yiqian found that he could speak again. After quite a while, he carefully covered his eyes with his hands and slowly opened his eyes. After revealing a wisp of light, he gradually adapted to the changes outside. At this moment, Sea Snake Island had already disappeared. Under his feet was the boundless undead sea, and above his head was the blue sky. Xia Pingan had already left Sea Snake Island and was flying in the air. Given the direction of Xia Pingan's flight, Xia Pingan was flying towards Crouching Dragon Island. Outside Xia Pingan's body, there was an invisible oval-shaped shield that blocked the astral winds in the air. Otherwise, Lu Yiqian, this caged monkey, would have been blown away in the air for half an hour without a single strand of hair remaining. As for what Xia Pingan did on Sea Snake Island yesterday, Lu Yiqian didn't know at all. Master, have you taken the 2 realm pearls? Lu Yiqian was pretty depressed, however. He could only ask with a smile. Yes, I've taken them. You're honest. Xia Pingan watched Lu Yiqian as he took out 2 bananas and handed them to Lu Yiqian. Here, your reward. Take these 2 bananas as an exchange for your 2 realm pearls. Look at me, how generous I am. These 2 bananas are reserved for guests in the inn. I've kept them especially for you. Thank you for your reward, master. Lu Yiqian's heart was bleeding, however. He still pretended to be grateful. After taking the 2 bananas, he started to eat them without any hesitation. As Xia Pingan flew, he looked at Lu Yiqian with a smile. Lu Yiqian was very obedient, but the more he was like this, the more Xia Pingan felt that this guy was suppressing things in his heart and wasn't completely loyal to him. Lu Yiqian quickly finished his banana and pretended to be happy. He then sincerely suggested, Master, those 2 realm pearl spirit sense crystals are very hard to find, but I already have some clues. After leaving Crouching Dragon Island, Master can find time to go to Sky Dragon Mountain. In a few days, there will be a god-slaying insect realm spirit sense crystal auction. Master can go try your luck and collect some spirit sense crystals that you can use. If you can find a spirit sense crystal that corresponds to those 2 realm pearls, that would be even better. Oh, where's Heavenly Dragon Mountain? It's 150,000 li southeast of the Undying Sea. There are many summoners gathering there. There are many scattered spiritual sense crystal veins near Heavenly Dragon Mountain. You can often dig out strange spiritual sense crystals. Therefore, Heavenly Dragon Mountain is the closest spiritual sense crystal distribution center to the Undying Sea. Okay, I got it. I'll go and take a look if I have time, Xia Pingan said perfunctorily. Xia Pingan had integrated with Yang, whose Monument of Fallen Tears boundary pearl yesterday. Not only did he integrate with the Monument of Fallen Tears, but it was also a breakthrough integration. Xia Pingan had done all the things that Yang Hu had done in history. Gao Pinglink's rebellion, Sima Yi's killing of Chao Shuang, Yang Hu's father-in-law, Xiaoba, surrendered to Shu Han in order to escape the massacre. Xiaoba's family members were all afraid of being implicated and hurriedly drew a clear line with Xiaoba's family. Many people even advised Xia Pingan to divorce his wife. Not only did Xia Pingan not divorce his wife, but he also treated Xiaoba's family members more courteously and took care of them more. Yang Hu's mother and eldest brother, Yang Fa, passed away one after another. Xia Pingan observed the funeral rites and abstained from eating vegetables for more than 10 years. Sima Yan became the emperor and promoted Xia Pingan to the rank of prefectural duke with 3,000 households. Xia Pingan was conferred the title of duke and was only given the title of marquis. As for the things that Yang Hu had done in history after he arrived in Jingzhou, such as opening schools, initiating education, appeasing the people, reclaiming land, etc., Xia Pingan followed the prescribed order step by step and did not miss a single thing. In history, Yang Hu had also done many things for the Wu Kingdom. He became good friends with the Wu Kingdom's envoy, Zhang Yan, and fought with the Wu Kingdom's military governor, Lu Kang. All of these became popular stories. When the Jin Kingdom's soldiers caught the Wu Kingdom's general's child, Xia Pingan ordered people to return the child to the Wu Kingdom. When the Jin Kingdom's army crossed the border and cut the Wu Kingdom's farmers' rice to be used as army rations, Xia Pingan ordered people to calculate the amount and use silk to pay for the food. Even when the Wu Kingdom's hunters caught the prey that ran to the Jin Kingdom and were captured, Xia Pingan also ordered people to return it to the Wu Kingdom. When Lu Kang fell ill, Xia Pingan personally sent people to deliver medicine that could treat Lu Kang's illness. When the Wu Kingdom's surrendered soldiers wanted to leave, Xia Pingan also generously let them leave and even gave them travel expenses. When Lu Kang sent him good wine, he also drank it in front of the envoy sent by Lu Kang. However, on the other hand, when the Wu Kingdom's generals Chen Shang and Pan Jing invaded Jingzhou of Jin, Xia Pingan personally led the troops and chased them to death. After that, he gave them lavish gifts for their funeral. Chen Shang and Pan Jing's descendants came to receive the funeral and Xia Pingan returned the favor with gift. When the Wu Kingdom's general Deng Xiang invaded Xiakou, Xia Pingan offered a reward for capturing him alive. After he was captured, he released him, making Deng Xiang grateful to the point of tears. In the end, he led his subordinates to surrender. In this way, Xia Pingan was respectfully referred to as Yang Gong in the mouth of the enemy. These were all Yang Hu's deeds, and Xia Pingan had done them all. Xia Pingan had also done what Yang Hu had not done in history. In history, when Yang Hu was young, there was a person who was good at reading the feng shui of tombs. He said that Yang Hu's ancestral tomb had the aura of an emperor. If the tomb was dug up, he would have no descendants. It was unknown what the Yang Hu in history was thinking, or perhaps it was because he was young and impetuous and did not believe it, but he really dug up his own ancestral grave. Therefore, when the tomb keeper saw the dug-up grave, he said, "Although your ancestral grave has been dug up, your family will still have the third duke who broke his arm." Later on, Yang Hu broke his arm when he fell off his horse and became the third duke without any descendant. Hence, the historical story of the third duke with a broken arm was left behind. This time, Xia Pingan did not dig up his own ancestral tomb. Instead, he was very courteous to the tomb reader and rewarded him handsomely. In the Battle of Xiling, Xia Pingan fought against Lu Kang. This time, Xia Pingan did not lose. Instead, he tied with Lu Kang. In the end, Lu Kang took Xiling City. However, Xia Pingan also protected the Buchan family and helped them escape from Xiling City and join Jin. In addition, Xia Pingan did one more thing. He killed Sun Sun with his own hands and ended this scourge. Sun Sun was not famous in history. However, if one looked closely at his deeds, from the perspective of the butterfly effect, he was definitely a sinner of Huaxia. He deserved to die. The rebellion of the 8 princes in West Jin was triggered by the rebellion of the 8 princes in West Jin. The culprit of the rebellion of the 8 princes was Emperor Jin Hui's wife, Jia Nanfeng. Jia Nanfeng was ugly, vicious, and stupid, while Emperor Jin Hui was weak and cowardly. Having such a wife, he lived a miserable life. What many people didn't know was that Sima Yan was a man of great vision. He married Jia Nanfeng as his daughter-in-law by mistake, mainly because he was deceived by Sun Sun. Back then, when Sima Yan wanted to depose the crown prince, Sima Zhong, it was Sun Sun who tried his best to stop him. Because he married the wrong daughter-in-law, the empire was destroyed and a great historical disaster was caused in West Jin. The most important person behind all this was Sun Sun. Sun Sun's motive for directing the most tragic marriage in Huaxia history was that Jia Nanfeng's father, Jia Chong, was appointed to guard Chang'an. For his own selfish reasons, he didn't want Jia Chong to leave the capital. Therefore, he set Jia Chong up to be the crown prince's father-in-law. Xia Pingan wasn't sure how much history could be changed by killing Sun Sun, but it didn't matter. In history, Yang Hu died of illness at the age of 58. However, Xia Pingan in the Realm Pearl was still alive and kicking at the age of 58. His body was strong and his martial arts were outstanding. Furthermore, after Lu Kang's death, Xia Pingan effortlessly took over Wu country's Jing province. Xia Pingan didn't know how the situation changed after that. When the realm bead of the teardrop monument shattered, Xia Pingan conquered Wu Kingdom's Jing province without any effort. Then, he went to visit Lu Kang's grave with wine. After that, the realm bead shattered. After the breakthrough of the realm bead of the teardrop monument, the divine power in Xia Ping and secret mandala surged by 180 points. When Xia Pingan left the Sea Snake Island, the upper limit of his divine power finally broke through 8,000 points, reaching 8,004 points. If history changed according to the direction he had changed in the realm bead, would the tragedy of the 5 barbarians' chaos be avoided? Or, could the West Jin dynasty turn out like what Yang Hu told Sima Yan in the end? Could the West Jin dynasty destroy Wu Kingdom easily and unify the world without a fight? Could the West Jin dynasty usher in a prosperous era? Flying in the sky, Xia Pingan's head was filled with this question. No matter how hard he tried to deduce, there were countless possibilities. Most of the time, the direction of history was actually decided by the butterfly effect caused by some accidental event. This was the most magical part of history. A few days later, Xia Pingan came to Crouching Dragon Island again. The last time he came to Crouching Dragon Island, he came with Lord Mingi. This time, Xia Pingan came alone with a monkey in a cage. From a distance, Xia Pingan saw the undulating mountain range in the center of Crouching Dragon Island. Sea Snake Island and Crouching Dragon Island were in the Undying Sea and were not too far from each other. Master, the main thing is to bring my token to the 10,000 treasure hall. Take it out and tell the 10,000 treasure hall to take out the things stored in the token. Then, the 10,000 treasure hall will give the realm bead to you. It's very easy. Other than the realm bead, I still have more than 60 million gold coins in the 10,000 treasure hall. Lu Yiqian opened his eyes wide in the cage, and said sincerely to Xia Pingan. Electric light jumped on Xia Pingan's fingertips again. The monkey in the cage screamed and went into shock again from the electric shock. Smoke rose from his body. Xia Pingan glanced at Lu Yiqian in the cage. "Did I allow you to speak?" Lu Yiqian said it very casually. But for some reason, the closer they got to Crouching Dragon Island, the more nervous Xia Pingan became. This was not the case when they went to the Sea Snake Island. Chapter 5:15. As Xia Pingan became an intermediate spirit master, his soul power increased explosively. Xia Pingan's sixth sense also became sharper. This feeling was like the powerful instincts of the wild beasts living in the forest. It could make the wild beasts become restless and alert when they got close to a trap. The closer they got to Crouching Dragon Island, the more restless this instinct became. Xia Pingan's blood surged, and he was inexplicably irritated. Crouching Dragon Island was on the sea level in front of him. They were only 300 to 400 miles away from Crouching Dragon Island, but Xia Pingan had already stopped in the air. Other than the realm pearl Lu Yiqian said he placed in the Thousand Treasure Hall, there was still a great danger on Crouching Dragon Island for him. Did this danger come from Lu Yiqian? Perhaps it came from something else, or perhaps it came from a combination of both. Xia Pingan didn't know. But he could try gradually eliminate it. Xia Pingan's heart moved. The cage was covered by a black cloth. Lu Yiqian, who was dizzy from the electricity, lost the ability to speak again. He could only feel that he was still being carried by Xia Pingan towards Crouching Dragon Island. Lu Yiqian's heart beat wildly, but he became more and more silent in the cage, not making a sound. After flying like this for about an hour, Lu Yiqian felt that Xia Pingan had finally landed. Then he heard a familiar and excited voice. "Halt, this is the Thousand Treasure Hall. Do not enter without invitation. I'm here to take something from the Thousand Treasure Hall." This was Xia Pingan's voice. "You should know the rules of the Thousand Treasure Hall. We only accept summoners above the energy-shaping realm. Your aura is obscure and difficult to distinguish. If you want to enter the Thousand Treasure Hall, please release your aura." "I can't enter even with this token? I came here today on the orders of the owner of this token to take away the things of the owner of the 10,000 Treasures Hall." At the entrance of the 10,000 Treasures Hall, Xia Pingan had already taken out the token signed by Lu Yi. The black-clothed man looked at the token in Xia Pingan's hand. "You may enter, but what is in the cage? Please remove the black cloth outside the cage for inspection. Dangerous items are not allowed in the Thousand Treasure Hall." Lu Yiqian heard this from inside the cage. Then the black cloth covering the cage was pulled away, and Lu Yiqian saw the light again. This was the outside of the Thousand Treasure Hall on Crouching Dragon Island. There were all kinds of exotic flowers and all kinds of exotic scents. There was a pool in front of the pavilion. 2 mermaids with their long hair were playing in the water and playing the zither. The 7-story Thousand Treasure Hall was right in front of them. Outside the Thousand Treasure Hall, there were exquisite steps and railings carved out of white jade. The aura was awe-inspiring. At the entrance of the pavilion, there were a few summoned armored guards holding swords. A black-clothed man with a cold expression blocked in front of Xia Pingan. In Xia Pingan's hand was his token. Lu Yiqian couldn't speak and didn't move. Xia Pingan gave him a warning look. The black-clothed man guarding outside the Thousand Treasure Hall looked at Lu Yiqian in the cage. "So it's a monkey. All right, you may enter." Xia Pingan carried the cage and brought Lu Yiqian into the Thousand Treasure Hall. The black-clothed man followed them in. Just as he entered the 10,000 Treasure Hall, a fatty walked out with a smile. "You took the token owner's items stored in the Thousand Treasure Hall?" The smiling fatty directly asked Xia Pingan. "That's right." Xia Pingan nodded. "All right, show me the token." Xia Pingan handed over the token. The fatty took the token, looked at it, and nodded. That's right, it's a transformation token issued by our 1000 Treasure Hall. The owner of this token does indeed have something in our 1000 Treasure Hall. After the fatty finished speaking, he directly instructed the black-clothed man. Lindong, bring this guest to the Feng Hua Hall and wait. Please follow me. The black-clothed man made a gesture of invitation. Xia Pingon followed the black-clothed man upstairs. They arrived at a living room and waited while drinking tea. After waiting for less than 5 minutes, the fatty walked in with a smile. He held a box in his hand and sat down beside Xia Pingon. Xia Pingon opened the box. Inside the box was the realm pearl that Lu Yiqian had mentioned before. He nodded. Doesn't the owner of this token have more than 60 million gold coins in the 1000 Treasure Hall? Where are those gold coins? Xia Pingon asked. I'm afraid I can't give you those gold coins, the fatty said with a smile. Oh, why? The fat man was still looking at Xia Pingon with a smile at this time. Because in addition to the gold coins, the owner of the token also left a letter for our 1000 Treasure Hall. The owner of the token said in the letter that whoever brings his token to the 1000 Treasure Hall to take his things means that he is already helpless and is in danger at any time. He wants us to help him take down the person who comes to take his things. If we can rescue him, those gold coins and the realm pearl in this box will be the reward for our 1000 Treasure Hall. At the same time, he will also serve our 1000 Treasure Hall for 20 years. Therefore, this guest, in order to avoid hurting our friendship, you should obediently hand over the owner of the token to us. This business is also good business for us. Don't make things difficult for our 1000 Treasure Hall. What do you think, guest? What do you think? Xia Pingon's expression changed drastically. He was about to rush into the sky. However, just as Xia Pingon was about to get up, he realized that he was no longer in the room. Instead, he was in the vast blue sky. The fatty was standing in the sky. There were 3 horizontal lines above his head, forming a Qian hexagram. He exuded a terrifying aura, but he still looked at Xia Pingon with a smile. There seemed to be invisible shackles in the endless void that directly froze Xia Pingon. Xia Pingon's body couldn't move at all. His expression changed drastically. For an 8-sun realm powerhouse, the struggle of a 6-sun realm summoner was completely negligible in the domain of an 8-sun realm powerhouse. Xia Pingon's body couldn't move. Even Lu Yiqian, who was in Xia Pingon's cage, couldn't move at all. He could only blink crazily in the cage. At the same time, he kept squeaking in excitement. Who are you? Where is the owner of that token now? Can you tell me now? The fatty who controlled the domain looked at Xia Pingon. He was still smiling, but his voice sounded like thunder in the void. If you don't tell me, I can only use the 9-yin soul-searching secret technique on you. The pain of the 9-yin soul-searching secret technique can even grind a person made of iron into powder. Even if you have forgotten something, we can help you recall it again and let you experience everything that you have experienced since you were in your mother's womb. Moreover, after the 9-yin soul-searching secret technique, your secret altar will also collapse. In the future, you will be more or less useless. Lu Yiqian, who was under the control of the 9-yin soul-searching secret technique, was already livid. Lu Yiqian was too excited in the cage. He squinted his eyes and squeaked, finally attracting the fatty's attention. With a thought from the fatty, the cage was completely shattered. Lu Yiqian, who was in the cage, felt that he could move his body and limbs again. Lu Yiqian directly bit his finger and wrote a few words in the air with his bloody finger. Shopkeeper Du, I am Lu Yiqian. Save me. What? You're Lu Yiqian? Seeing the words that the monkey wrote in the air with his bloody finger, the fatty was also shocked. The bloody finger of the monkey wrote some words in the air. Although the words didn't have a physical form, an 8-sun realm expert could still recognize them with a single glance. Lu Yiqian's mouth was chattering, but his hands didn't stop. He kept writing in the air, I was plotted against by this person and was hit by his secret technique. I turned into a monkey and can't speak. Shopkeeper, please think of a way to let him help me remove the secret technique on my body, and then hand this person over to me alive. As long as Thousands Treasure Hall can do it, besides the gold coins that I have in Thousands Treasure Hall, I still have over 300 million gold coins in my bank account in Yuenshu World. I also know 2 unexplored void secret realms. I can give them all to Thousands Treasure Hall. Lu Yiqian wrote a lot of words in one breath as he looked at Xia Pingan with a strange look, as if he had already won. You're really generous. The fatty laughed loudly. There's more than one transformation secret skill. If you're really willing to pay such a huge price, even your own coffin, Thousands Treasure Hall will definitely find a way to help you recover your human body. I must keep this person alive. If I don't skin him alive, I won't be able to get rid of the hatred in my heart. The smile on the fatty's face suddenly disappeared. Looking at Lu Yiqian, he suddenly sighed. Xia Pingan, who was imprisoned in the void, was suddenly able to move. He turned around and looked at Lu Yiqian as he sighed. I didn't expect that I would still underestimate you. When did you know that I'm Xia Pingan? Chapter 5:16. The dreamland twisted, shattered, and disappeared. Lu Yiqian woke up from his dream and opened his eyes. He found that he was no longer on Crouching Dragon Island, nor was he in 10,000 Treasure Hall. Instead, he had landed on a mountain peak on an unknown desolate island. Above him was a blue sky and white clouds. Below him was a boundless sea. Crouching Dragon Island had already disappeared from the sea, leaving only a shadow behind. The distance between him and Crouching Dragon Island had not gotten closer, but farther. The sun set on the horizon, sprinkling golden light on the sea. It was mournful yet magnificent. Xia Pingan was sitting cross-legged beside him. The cage that held Lu Yiqian was gone. He was lying on the ground beside him, having regained his freedom. Lu Yiqian was shocked at first, but then he completely calmed down. He glanced at Xia Pingan and found that Xia Pingan was calmly looking at him. His eyes were like a lake, calm, without joy or anger. It was completely different from before. Lu Yiqian got up and didn't run anymore. Instead, he sat beside Xia Pingan. A man and a monkey sitting on a mountain peak, enjoying the sea breeze. This scene was quite poetic. Seeing the scene before him, a smile appeared on the corners of Lu Yiqian's mouth. Lu Yiqian first chuckled, then laughed loudly. There was no longer any fear on his face. Instead, it was as if a burden had been lifted from his shoulders, as if he had breathed a long sigh of relief. Ha! Ha ha! Ha 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 ha! Life is like a dream. Sure enough, life is like a dream. Lu Yiqian's dream of becoming a god ends here today. It's not unjust, it's not unjust. Lu Yiqian looked at the sunset scenery of the undying sea with nostalgia. He took a deep breath and asked Xia Pingan, that secret technique of yours even caused me to fall for it again. It's too strange, making people unknowingly fall into a dreamland. Which realm pearl did you obtain this secret technique from? What's its name? This secret technique is called the dream creation technique. It doesn't come from a realm pearl, but from the spiritual realm. Xia Pingan said very calmly. Spiritual realm, no wonder. Lu Yiqian smiled. That smile was free and at ease. His expression was already relieved. The ruler of demon gods spent so much effort to kill you. It seems like there's a reason we don't know. You do have a big secret. Actually, I'm also confused. Xia Pingan spoke calmly as if he was chatting with a friend. At the same time, he looked at the sea in the distance. I just want my world to be free from space invasion. I want my friends, sister and countless ordinary people to not live in fear and to be able to smile sincerely. I don't want those kids to have to learn how to hide in shelters. I like to see those kids running freely and happily on the lawn without any worries. I have the same pursuit as those people in Wan Shen sect. I don't know why the ruler of the demon god is so obsessed with me, a spacewalker. I have to kill you as soon as possible. You don't know either. Lu Yiqian turned and asked. No, I don't know either. By the way, how do you know that I'm Xia Pingan? Lu Yiqian said with a smile. I didn't believe it at the beginning. I thought what you said was true. However, one night I suddenly thought of a problem. What if what I believed in was wrong? Others couldn't spit out the soul-stealing venomous insect that had entered their stomach. But what if Xia Pingan could do that? If Xia Pingan was like an ordinary person, why would the ruler of demon gods spend so much effort to kill him? Right. Xia Pingan nodded. The moment this whim appeared in my mind, I couldn't get rid of it. I deduced according to this whim, and understood many things at once. Finally, I came to the conclusion that you're Xia Pingan. It was you who lured me to fight Bloody Demon Church with the soul-stealing venomous insect that you spat out. Closely after that, you set a trap for me when I was severely injured. Finally, you wanted to subdue me and have me serve you. Of course, I'm not 100% sure, I'm only 70% sure. After being silent for a short while, Xia Pingan nodded. I underestimated all the heroes in the world. I thought that I didn't have any loophole. I've not imagined that you could discover it. Lu Yiqian smiled. It's not your fault. Ordinary people wouldn't have thought of it. However, people like me have seen all kinds of insidious and cunning people and experienced all kinds of situations. I've escaped from death countless times to reach where I am today. I've long been a wily old fox. I don't believe in anyone except myself. My mind is filled with thoughts of becoming a god. In order to become a god, I can do anything. Therefore, I have to seize the opportunity to fight for it. In the worst case, I'll prove that I'm wrong and start over again. As long as I'm alive, I can earn back what I've lost. Yes, as long as I'm alive, there's hope. However, is it really that important for you to become a god? Lu Yiqian looked into the distance and suddenly sighed as a disappointed look appeared on his face. My father is a policeman, a competent policeman, a good policeman. When I was young, I actually wanted to be a policeman. That year, when my father went out for an inspection, he found a corpse of a little girl who had just passed away in the trunk of a luxury car. There were also drugs. My father caught the driver and brought him to the police station. He detained the car and reported it to the higher-up. Guess what happened? What happened? It's because my father didn't know that the owner of the luxury car was the mayor's son. The chauffeur he detained was the mayor's son's chauffeur. That night, when my father returned home and was having dinner, a group of assassins barged into our house. Those people killed my father, mother, grandfather, grandmother, 2 sisters, and a 4-year-old brother. Then, they set my house on fire. Lu Yiqian spoke as if he was talking about someone else's matter. The expression on his face seemed to be reminiscing. That year, I was only 8 years old. The next day, the luxury car that my father detained disappeared from the police station. The little girl's corpse and the drugs disappeared. The police chief said that my father had a mental problem because of the stress from work and was prone to violence. My father killed his family after returning home and then committed suicide. In just 2 days, all the media reported that my father committed suicide due to mental illness. A psychiatrist said that my father often went to him for treatment. My father's colleagues were interviewed and also said that my father had a mental problem. These people later got promoted and became rich. From then on, I understood that in this world, there are actually only 2 kinds of people. One kind of people, they think they're humans, but in fact, they're just ants that look like humans. The other kind of people are people who can decide the fate of ants. Lu Yiqian turned his head to look at Xia Pingan and asked very seriously, I just don't want to be an ant anymore. Is that wrong? That's right. Xia Pingan nodded his head. Later on, I exterminated all of those people. A total of 17 families, 281 men and women. I didn't let any of them go. I captured all of them, locked them in the dungeon, and tortured them to death for half a year before it was over. Lu Yiqian revealed a chilling smile. I feel that it's better to die in the hands of someone who can become a god than to die in the hands of a nobody. At least it's more glorious. If someone more powerful than me, Lu Yiqian, was sacrificed by others, it would make me look too incompetent. Remember, you'd better not be sacrificed by others. Otherwise, I won't be happy even if I become a ghost. To be honest, I also want to try becoming a god. Only by becoming a god can I destroy the Dark Tower. Finally, I'll give you a suggestion. Hurry up and leave the Undead Sea. It's getting more and more dangerous for you. It's meaningless for you to stay here. Last time, when I fought with the Blood Demon Church, those people from the Blood Demon Church would definitely guess that you were the one behind it. Your whereabouts have already been exposed. All the demigods are stronger than you think, and their means are unpredictable. They're definitely above you. Okay, I got it. After saying this, Lu Yiqian looked at the setting sun on the sea with a calm expression. His eyes were filled with nostalgia as he muttered to himself, I didn't have the mood to look at it before, but now I realize that this sunset is actually quite beautiful. Xia Pingan didn't say anything. He just sat quietly on the mountain peak and watched the magnificent sunset slowly sink into the sea. When the last rays of the setting sun disappeared from the surface of the sea and the world was shrouded in darkness, a flame gushed out from the ground beside Xia Pingan. The monkey sitting beside him was turned into ashes in the blink of an eye. When the sea breeze blew over, the ashes dissipated in the sea breeze as if they had never existed. Xia Pingan got up and soared into the sky. His figure instantly melted into the night. Chapter 5:17 Earth, Paris, International Airport. In the drizzle, a few grayish-green anti-aircraft crawler vehicles were parked on both sides of the airport runway. The anti-aircraft crawler vehicles were covered with gun covers, but even so, looking through the gun covers, the muzzles and missiles of the anti-aircraft crawler vehicles were still pointing straight at the sky, ready to enter battle at any time. This was still a huge deterrent to the planes preparing to land at the airport. Armed men in camouflage uniforms with guns on their backs were patrolling the airport. On the command tower of the airport, the flag was no longer the French flag, but the flag of one of the largest organizations in Paris, the Citizen Alliance. The current Paris airport was controlled by the Citizen Alliance. At this moment, a wide-body jet with the logo of the Fire Country's national airline on the fuselage passed through the clouds from the southwest sky of the airport and flew toward a runway. On the plane, the cold, arrogant, and beautiful Fong Lingshan sat in an independent VIP cabin. She was looking at the Paris airport and the city of Paris through the window. She had been to Paris several times. Some of them were for missions, and some of them were for travel. She was no stranger to these big European cities. But this time, when she saw Paris in the twilight, it was no longer as glorious as it used to be. There were only a few places in the city that were lit up. It was as if the city was in a deep sleep. She felt that things were still the same, but people had changed. It used to be quite good here. How did it become like this? These French people really don't let people have peace of mind. Tu Polu, who was sitting opposite Fong Lingshan, muttered, Don't expect too much. The fact that France didn't surrender during the last heavenly tribulation is the best news. Fong Lingshan said coldly. That's because they still have shelters to hide in. Tu Polu chuckled, revealing a mouth full of terrifying titanium alloy steel teeth. In order to hide in shelters, they started fighting among themselves. In the end, the government even lost the capital and still hasn't recovered it. That's just too ridiculous. Our fire country is almost fully recovered and we've cleared out most of the dimensional invaders. The remaining ones have all gone into hiding and they're still bickering. So, Demon Eye dared to transport nuclear materials here. Fong Lingshan said helplessly. As long as you don't ask me to work with those Gauls during missions, anything is fine. Working with those Gauls can make people anxious to death. Remember the mission in Luxembourg last time? At this moment, Tupolu was still as strong as a mountain in a black leather windbreaker. He had a horse on his arm and a man on his fist. His bald head was very conspicuous. After more than 2 years, his chi had become increasingly terrifying. He was much more powerful than before. As he spoke, he opened his mouth and swallowed all the beef rolls on the plain meal in front of him. After chewing for a while, his throat moved. Then, the 500 grams of beef disappeared into his mouth miraculously. Since boarding the plane, Tupolu had already eaten the meal for 5 people, but he still didn't seem to be full. We'll get off the plane after we're full. I don't know if we'll be able to eat our fill when we arrive in Paris. Tupolu wiped his hands and narrowed his eyes. I keep feeling that it's a little strange that the headquarters transferred us from Ejo to Europe to carry out this mission. Logically speaking, we don't need to be involved in this mission. There are many people in the European branch, the headquarters 5th Division, 4th Division, and the Special Security Bureau. We haven't followed up on this case before. Fong Lingshan just raised the teacup in front of her and took a sip of tea. We'll know when we get off the plane. With a slight quiver, the plane had already landed on the airport runway and was taxiing at a high speed. After a short while, the plane had stopped in front of a terminal building. The 2 people walked out of the VIP cabin and saw a beautiful stewardess standing there with a blush on her face. Li Yunzhou, the B***starred, was standing at the entrance of the VIP cabin. Holding the beautiful stewardess's hand, he looked at her affectionately like a profound and rich gentleman. At the same time, he was saying mushy affectionate words. Remember to call you when I come back. Alas, as a powerful summoner, it's actually very tiring. I have to fly here and there to save the world every day. But no matter how tiring I am, I feel that this world is worth saving after meeting you. Compared to before, Li Yunzhou had a delicate and masculine mustache around his lip. He also dressed more delicately. Of course, he seemed to be more shameless. Fong Lingshan directly treated Li Yunzhou as heir. However, Old Tu smirked as he slapped Li Yunzhou's shoulder forcefully. Little Li, you're really good at bragging. Remember to pay back the money that you owe me last time. Save yourself first. With Old Tu's interruption, the beautiful air stewardess hurriedly withdrew her hand and left. Li Yunzhou glared at Tupolu in exasperation. Old Tu, what are you doing? It wasn't easy for me to get her number. Pay back the money. Tupolu reached out his large hand, causing Li Yunzhou's aura to wither instantly. Li Yunzhou wanted to say something but he didn't. This was because from the cabin behind them, a middle-aged man in his 40s or 50s walked out. He was wearing a suit, a black windbreaker, and old-fashioned black-rimmed glasses. With a sweep of his imposing gaze, Li Yunzhou cleverly shut his mouth. He even revealed a fawning smile. Department Head Yen. Department Head Yen. Fong Lingshan and Tupolu nodded slightly in greeting. Department Head Yen was the person in charge of this mission. He was also someone from the headquarters. Regardless of ability, experience, or position, he was much higher than them. Moreover, Department Head Yen had a relationship with them. He was the old leader of Mo Yenshao when he first joined the Committee of Order. Department Head Yen used to follow this person. From this relationship, Department Head Yen was their boss. Even Mo Yenshao had to listen to him obediently. After getting off the plane, Fong Lingshan saw fully armed security guards outside the plane. Walking out of the empty terminal road, Fong Lingshan saw her elder sister Fong Lingyin and some other people waiting outside. The 2 sisters didn't say much when they met here. They just nodded formally and greeted each other. Then, they got into several black commercial vehicles outside the airport. Has the material channel from the airport to the 11th district been opened? Department Head Yen asked Fong Lingyin in the vehicle. After the Doomsday Gang and the Jackal Gang were exterminated, the forces in Paris were reshuffled. The material channel from the airport to the 11th district has been opened. After leaving the airport, we only need to pay 30% of the toll for the goods to be transported to the 11th district. Fong Lingyin answered. 20% from the airport and 30% from the toll. This is acceptable. The following materials will be transported here gradually. Department head Yen nodded with a solemn look. You can contact Luoan now. The headquarters has agreed to pull him into our operation. I've brought the realm bead with me this time. Today's second watch was slightly late. Chapter 518. In the drizzle, the few cars passed through the twilight of Paris and finally returned to the 11th arrondissement amidst the occasional gunshot. The Committee of Orders base in the 11th arrondissement was located in a square office building not far from the People's Square. Next to the office building was a Chinese wholesale market. The dark red exterior of the office building looked particularly plain. The top of the office building was covered by solar panels, so the office building's power supply had never been a problem. A few armed security guards stood outside the office building. When the cars entered the underground parking lot, the door of the underground parking lot automatically closed. Everyone, take a rest tonight and familiarize yourself with the mission briefing. We'll start work tomorrow, Minister Yen said after getting out of the car. Tu Polu, Li Yunzhou, and the others returned to their respective dorms. It was not until then that Fong Lingshan and Fong Lingxian met up in Fong Lingxuan's room. Tu Polu, Li Yunzhou, and the others all knew that Fong Lingxian was Fong Lingshan's sister. She was a woman who was fiercer than Fong Lingshan, so naturally, they did not join in the fun. This is that. Luoan. In the room, Fong Lingshan looked at the scene of Xia Pingan wiping out thousands of people in the People's Square with the turret in his hand. She gasped slightly. What great strength! According to the effect of the divine power infusion, he's at least a 7th elemental realm. His clothes are not bad either. The video was taken by the Chinese organization in the 11th arrondissement. Although it was a little far away and the sky was dark, the image was not very clear. However, Luo An's figure with the turret in his hand could be seen very clearly. The turret in Luo An's hand made a series of dull explosions, the scattering of bullet shells, Luo An's firm steps, and the slight trembling of the water shield around him made him look particularly valiant amidst the continuous explosions and flames. The video was less than a minute long. Soon, Luoan entered the blind spot of the video and could not be seen anymore. Only the flames and explosions could be heard. Moments later, the video changed to the scene of Luo An's wiping out of the street. The entire street was littered with the corpses of the gang members. Thousands of gang members were lying on the ground with broken limbs everywhere. It was as if the place had been bombed. Even though Fong Lingshan had seen a lot of scenes, but looking at this scene, her heart still trembled. It was all done by him alone? Yes, he did. He wiped out thousands of people from 2 major gangs in Paris in less than 10 minutes. The summoners of the 2 gangs were scared out of their wit. The bosses of the 2 gangs were killed. Sasa, the boss of the Doomsday Gang, was a complete brain-eating bug. Luo An's name is now the name. Luoan. Luo An's name. Luo An's name is Sname. Luoan S's. Luoan's. As Fong Lingyin spoke, she placed a glass of blue cocktail in front of Fong Lingshan. She then casually sat on the sofa next to her, crossed her beautiful legs, and rubbed her forehead tiredly. I didn't expect the headquarters to transfer you here. I reported the situation to the headquarters before because Luo An knows you. I wanted the headquarters to filter the people you've been in contact with according to your mission line. I've already carefully identified his sketch before. I'm sure that I don't know Luoan, nor have I seen him before. I've never met him when I was on a mission before. I don't know how he knew me, but I'll never forget such an expert as long as I see him once. Fong Lingshan sat next to Fong Lingxian with a glass of wine in her hand. She took a sip and frowned. The cocktail didn't taste right. The pair of sisters sat together. Each of them was prettier than the flowers. They each had their own charm and were very pleasing to the eye. There's no tequila syrup. Just make do. Paris lacks everything now. Fong Lingxian seemed to have completely put down her work and started to chat with Fong Lingshan as an elder sister. By the way, that big baldy has always been following you around. How are you doing? I don't think that big baldy looks good, but you should feel safe with him. Mom and Dad are still waiting for grandchildren. Fong Lingshan rolled her eyes at Fong Lingxian. Don't worry about me. Mom and Dad want grandchildren. Isn't that the responsibility of an elder sister? In order to avoid being urged to get married, you went to Europe for several years and didn't even come back home. How dare you complain about me, really? Fong Lingxian smiled faintly. She turned her head and looked at Fong Lingshan's hot figure. Suddenly, she reached out her hand and gently pinched Fong Lingshan's chest. She sighed with envy. How did you get bigger? What do you eat? If you have children in the future, you can save a lot of money on milk powder. Mom said you're better at giving birth than me, elder sister. Fong Lingshan suddenly shouted as her face turned red. On the night that they arrived in Paris, a string of red balloons suddenly appeared on the top of the tallest iron tower in Paris. The next day, after the drizzle, Paris was sunny again. After waking up in the morning and exercising for an hour, Emily made herself breakfast and ate it. As usual, she went to the little attic on the top floor of the villa and looked at the iron tower with her binoculars. A string of red balloons floating at the top of the iron tower instantly entered Emily's sight. Emily shuddered. After looking at it again and confirming it, she immediately left the attic on the top floor of the villa and went to the basement shelter. She picked up a hammer and knocked on the iron door outside the shelter 7 times. The iron door made a dull thud on the ground. Before Luoan went into seclusion, he told her to use this method to inform him if she saw red balloons floating at the top of the iron tower. As long as she knocked on the door 7 times, he would know. Emily thought that Luoan would come out quickly, but unexpectedly, there was no movement in the shelter for half a day. She waited until noon, but she still didn't see Luoan come out of the shelter. In the afternoon, Emily couldn't help but take the hammer and knock on the iron door of the shelter 7 times. Luoan still didn't appear. Unknowingly, the sky turned dark again. Just as Emily was about to knock on the door a few more times, Emily's shepherd dog in the villa, Badu, suddenly started barking madly. Badu was very obedient. Under normal circumstances, he wouldn't bark randomly. Badu's barking became louder and louder. Emily was shocked. She immediately ran to the villa's security camera to take a look. The camera outside the door had been destroyed. Emily ran to the villa's window and looked outside. It was pitch black outside the villa, but she could still see a few dark figures. They were sneakily climbing over the villa's wall and jumping into the courtyard. Looking at those figures, there were about 3 or 4 people. She was being watched. Emily took out the silent whistle in her pocket and blew it. This whistle couldn't be heard by human ears, but Badu could hear it. As expected, once she blew the whistle, Badu's barking stopped. The well-trained Badu crawled out of the kennel in the courtyard and ran out of the villa to call the police and find the community's security patrol team. A dog ran away. A dark figure whispered in the courtyard outside. "Whatever, let's go in first. There's only one woman living in this villa. There must be something good. Let's move quickly. The window is too small. We can't go in, damn it. Let's see if we can open the door." Dark figures flashed in the courtyard outside. Someone cursed. The few people who entered the courtyard began to feel around the door and the window. Could be seen that 2 of them were holding pistols, one was holding a dagger, and the other was holding a fire axe. Emily was already holding the shotgun in her hand. She gritted her teeth and went to a hidden shooting hole in front of the door. She was about to shoot those people outside. A warm hand suddenly pressed down on Emily's shoulder and the shotgun in her hand. Emily turned around and was pleasantly surprised. "Teacher, you're out." When she saw Xia Pingan, Emily's anxious heart immediately relaxed. She felt as though she had found someone to rely on. Xia Pingan stood behind Emily with a smile on his face. "Remember to knock once next time." "I know. It's just that sometimes when I'm in seclusion, I can't come out immediately." "Yes, yes." Emily nodded. "Those people outside, this is a sparring partner given to you by God. It's quite suitable for your current situation. Don't waste it. Let me see what you're capable of," Xia Pingan said with a smile. He didn't do anything, but the black dragon appeared outside. The few criminals didn't expect another dog to appear from the darkness. The black dragon was as fast as lightning. It bit the wrist of one of the criminals holding a gun. The criminal screamed and the gun in his hand fell to the ground. The other person holding a gun didn't have time to react. The black dragon pounced on him and bit the hand holding the gun. In the darkness, the criminal panicked and was torn to the ground by the black dragon. The gun fell to the ground. The criminal whose hand was bitten by the black dragon was about to bend down to pick it up when he saw the villa's door suddenly open. Emily was like a ferocious tiger released from its cage. She dashed out like an arrow and hit the bandit's face with her knee. With a heart-wrenching crack, the bandit's face was flattened at once. Blood spurted out from his entire body. Emily's knee hit sent his body flying back 2 meters and he fell to the ground. The close combat technique that Xia Pingan taught Emily was the 7 styles of the ferocious tiger that he had previously comprehended. Although Emily was a woman, under the effects of the body-strengthening pill, the 7 styles of the ferocious tiger had a valiant and sharp feel to it. Its power was very fierce. Emily's confidence was greatly boosted after taking down a criminal with 1 strike. She didn't know why, but these criminals, who usually made her afraid, didn't seem so scary at this moment. They were sloppy and ordinary. After taking down one of the criminals, Emily quickly rushed to the side of the criminal who was being torn apart by the black dragon. She stepped on the criminal's hand and broke his arm. Then, she kicked the criminal's head and knocked him unconscious. She also kicked the gun that had fallen on the ground to a corner. It was a clean and neat job. The other 2 thugs rushed over and waved their daggers and axes at Emily. It was her first time facing criminals with knives. Emily was a little flustered and took 2 steps back. But at this moment, Xia Pingan's calm voice sounded in her ears. "Sidestep, 6 style." Emily instinctively stepped to the side and dodged the attack of the axe. Then, she used the 6 style. Using her palm as a knife, she cut the criminal's temple. The criminal groaned and his head shook violently. He fainted immediately. The 6 style was actually the Crouching Dragon and Crouching Tiger from Xia Pingan's 7 styles of the ferocious tiger. It was a combination of attack and defense, and was full of changes. Although there were no weapons in the hands, the fist and palm could be used. Because Emily was French, it was a little troublesome to translate the names of the moves: Tiger Roaring in the Forest, Helping the Tiger Do Evil, and Crouching Dragon and Crouching Tiger. Therefore, when Xia Pingan taught her the moves, he directly called them the 1st to 7th styles. After knocking down another ferocious criminal, Emily was not so flustered anymore. The criminal with the dagger continued to stab at Emily, but Emily was not flustered. She grabbed the criminal's hand and twisted it. With a crack, she broke the criminal's wrist. Then, she threw the criminal heavily onto the ground and kicked his head, knocking him out again. Looking at the 4 criminals who were knocked down by her in the blink of an eye, Emily almost could not believe that this was her battle record. There was still a guard outside the villa. When he heard the screams and groans from the villa, he was so scared that he immediately ran away. "The patrol team is coming. Just leave these people to the patrol team. I have something to do," so I'll leave for a while. Xia Pingan's voice sounded in Emily's ears again. Emily turned around and looked around. She realized that Xia Pingan had already disappeared. Chapter 519. Standing over 2000 m above Paris in the sky, Xia Pingan had a special feeling watching this huge city crawling under his feet. Ignoring the occasional gunshots in the city, Paris was full of lights at night. Without the bustling traffic flow and the nightlife, most of the people in this city had returned to their own homes like birds returning to their nest. The meandering Seine River was pretty tranquil. The string of red balloons on the top of the iron tower in the distance was also pretty eye-catching. The red balloons were an agreement between Xia Pingan and Fang Lingxian. If the Committee of Order wanted to ask for foreign aid or needed his help, they would hang red balloons on the iron tower. Of course, in order not to frighten those who liked to look at the sky with a telescope at night, such as Emily, who was too curious, Xia Pingan hid himself in the sky using his illusion skill. It was a big secret that Zhang Tai could fly. At least it was on the earth. As far as Xia Pingan knew, no summoner on earth had the ability to fly, no matter how many realm pearls they had integrated, because there was no holy spring. He was the only summoner on earth who could fly at this moment. Boom! When Xia Pingan was looking at the city of Paris, he heard the roar of a plane's engine. A huge passenger plane passed by hundreds of meters above Xia Pingan's head and flew towards the airport of Paris. Of course, the pilot of the passenger plane didn't notice Zhang Tai standing in the sky at this moment. If I wear a pair of red underwear on the outside, will it frighten others? Xia Pingan burst out into laughter as he looked at the direction of the 11th arrondissement. Closely after that, he disappeared in a flash. Only after a short while, Xia Pingan had appeared in the sky above the 11th arrondissement. After glancing around, Xia Pingan saw a string of red balloons on the top of a square office building near the People's Square in the 11th arrondissement. It should be here. When Xia Pingan appeared on the street outside the stronghold of the Committee of Order in District 11, he immediately attracted the attention of several armed security guards outside the stronghold. Xia Pingan only slightly released a trace of his own aura, causing his divine power to fluctuate, letting the other party already know that he had arrived. Before the security guards approached, Fang Lingyin suddenly flew out of a window of the office building like a shadow and landed directly in front of Xia Pingan. Today, Fang Lingxian was wearing black leather pants, a black t-shirt, and a windbreaker. She looked especially cool. Seeing Xia Pingan, Fang Lingyi's eyes flashed. She let out a long sigh. If this man didn't appear today, Department Head Yen would probably doubt the reliability of her agreement with this man. Luowen, you've come. Yes, I've been in seclusion these days. I just saw the balloons you hung up. Xia Pingan smiled. Of course, he wasn't in seclusion. Before coming here, he just wanted to find a place to settle down so that he could be at ease. Let's go in and talk. Okay. Xia Pingan looked at the building in front of him. This is the stronghold of the Committee of Order in Paris. You can say so. We have more than one stronghold. Fang Lingyin waved her hand to let the security guards who were approaching them leave. She directly led Xia Pingan to the building. After just a few steps, Xia Pingan felt that someone in the building seemed to be peeping at him from the window. He looked up and saw a familiar figure standing behind a window of the building, Fang Lingshan. Why did Fang Lingshan come to Paris? Fang Lingshan was looking at him attentively. He and Fang Lingshan exchanged glances in the air. Xia Pingan smiled slightly while Fang Lingshan frowned slightly with a trace of doubt on her face. Then, Tupola's figure appeared behind Fang Lingshan. He lowered his head and sized up Xia Pingan, who was walking towards the building. There was another fellow beside him. It was actually Li Yunzhou. What a coincidence! Xia Pingan's heart skipped a beat, but he didn't show it on his face. However, The emotions of meeting an old friend surged in his heart. In the room, Fong Lingshan turned around and pulled down the curtains. She glanced at Tupolu. I'm sure now. I've never seen this person before. That's strange. How does this guy know you? Tupolu touched his bald head. This guy doesn't look very strong. Is he really that powerful, Shanshan? Do you think that guy saw your photo somewhere and fell in love with you? He can't help but have a crush on you. Li Yunzhou thought he was clever and said with a wretched expression, Hee, some perverts are like that. They can do many terrible things just by looking at a photo. You have to be careful. Don't lose those stockings and clothes you're wearing, get lost. I should be able to get to know him officially later. When Xia Pingan arrived at the building, he saw a bespectacled, serious-looking middle-aged man with slightly white hair walking toward him. The middle-aged man's aura was very strong. He was at least in the 6th primal realm. This is Minister Yan from Great Yan's Committee of Order. He's also the person in charge of the Committee of Order in Paris. Fong Lingyin introduced Xia Pingan and Minister Yan to each other. Minister Yan, this is Luowen. Hello, Mr. Luowen. You can call me Yan Qing. Minister Yan extended his hand and shook Xia Pingan's hand forcefully. Thank you for your help in the incident at the 11th ward, Mr. Luo. Xia Pingan smiled faintly when he sensed the surging divine power from Minister Yan's hand. With a slight movement, he forced Minister Yan's divine power back and retracted it. You're too kind, Minister Yan. Department Head Yan had just confirmed one thing. This Luowen should be a 7-sun realm summoner. The tide of divine power in his body was even stronger than his own. It was impossible for him to be a fake. Moreover, through careful observation, he discovered that this Luowen was not someone else in disguise. With this knowledge, Minister Yan was even more polite to Xia Pingan. After exchanging a few pleasantries, the three of them arrived at a small conference room. After closing the door, they sat on both sides of the conference table and began their formal meeting. To be honest, ever since Mr. Luowen showed off his skills in the 11th ward, we've been paying attention to him. We don't have any ill intentions. We're just sorting out information. It's also one of the daily tasks of our Committee of Order. What puzzles us is that we discovered that Mr. Luowen didn't seem to be a summoner before, nor did he display any extraordinary abilities. I'm personally very curious as to how Mr. Luowen managed to become a summoner in just a few years. Could Mr. Luowen reveal this question? Minister Yan's expression was very serious as he spoke. That meticulous and serious look gave people an inexplicable pressure. Xia Pingan also had a serious expression as he sighed. It's hard to say what happens to people. Before I came to France, I only wanted to be an artist. I didn't expect that I would become a summoner one day. However, that's what happens to people. My process of becoming a summoner is unimaginable, but that's the truth. That year, I went to the Alps to do a photo shoot. When I was climbing, I accidentally slipped and fell off a cliff. I thought I was done for, but I didn't expect that when I woke up, I would find myself in a cave. There was an old man with a strange temper in the cave. That old man taught me a lot of things, and my fate changed as a result. I quietly became a summoner. Minister Yan listened attentively. His face didn't move at all, and he didn't have much other expression. He seemed to be very focused. However, Fong Lingshuan's expression became strange as she listened. She almost couldn't help but roll her eyes at Xia Pingan. How thick is your skin? You actually used this Adventures of a Young Man Who Fell Off a Cliff on yourself? Do you think others are fools? Mr. Luowen's experience is really enviable. Minister Yan, who was listening attentively, suddenly laughed. A pile of fine crow's feet appeared at the corner of his eyes. Then, Minister Yan suddenly reached out his hand and placed something on the table. He handed it to Xia Pingan. This should be Mr. Luo's. Now, it's returned to its rightful owner. Xia Pingan took a look. The thing that Minister Yen handed over was the silver pendant he gave to the innkeeper when he was staying at the small hotel. The pendant also had Olivier's photo. Yes, he used this thing to exchange for his first meal after returning to Earth. The fact that Minister Yen was able to hand him this necklace meant that his previous experience in the small hotel had been thoroughly investigated by others. It had to be said that the Committee of Order was quite efficient. Xia Pingan looked at the pendant, smiled slightly, and shook his head. Then, he said with a sigh, "The old man is right. The most difficult thing to cultivate one's heart in the mortal world is to cultivate. What is cultivation? It is to burn one's heart in a furnace, to get rid of the impurities and preserve the pure. After experiencing pain, suffering, love, hate, and love, one still has to be able to restrain one's bestial nature and greed, wash away the distracting thoughts in one's heart, and see one's true nature. This is cultivation. I'm very happy that I did it." Xia Pingan's tone and expression were like that of a wise man and philosopher who had experienced the vicissitudes of life. There was even a hint of transcendence in his tone and expression. "Although I've lost some things, I've also gained a better understanding of who I am and found my true self. I understand where my strength and ability should be used. If I hadn't passed this stage, I would have been just an ordinary person conquered by extraordinary power. This is not controlling power, but being controlled by power. Thank you, Minister Yen, for helping me find this necklace from the small hotel, but this pendant no longer has any meaning to me now. It only represents my past." Looking at Xia Pingan's expression and his eloquence, Fang Lingxian suddenly felt a little unconfident. Could it be that this guy's Adventures of a Teenager was actually true? There really was an expert guiding him. Chapter 520. No matter what Fang Lingyin was thinking, Minister Yen seemed to believe her or did not intend to delve any further into this issue. Instead, he quickly shifted to an important topic. "I heard that when Mr. Luoan helped District 11 out last time, he discovered that the leader of the Doomsday Gang, Sasa, was a member of the Demon Eyes, so Mr. Luoan killed Sasa without any hesitation. Aren't you afraid of offending the Demon Eyes, Mr. Luoan? The Demon Eyes are the public enemy of mankind. If I offend them, so be it. It doesn't matter," Xia Pingan said directly. Minister Yen nodded, very satisfied with Xia Pingan's performance. Mr. Luoan is indeed an extraordinary person. To be honest, the Committee of Order sent me to Paris for a very important mission. This mission is related to the Demon Eyes, and Mr. Luoan is powerful and has a clear stance against the Demon Eyes. Therefore, we invited Mr. Luoan over to join this mission as foreign aid. What do you think, Mr. Luoan? Ha ha ha, the Committee of Order has a large business. You don't want me to work for free, do you? Xia Pingan laughed. I said before that as long as there are realm pearls, everything is negotiable. I only recognize realm pearls, not principles. Mr. Luoan, please be at ease. Our order committee will not be so stingy. If we want to invite an expert like Mr. Luoan, we will naturally be able to pay the corresponding price. Pardon me for asking, but I would like to officially confirm if Mr. Luoan's cultivation has already reached the 7th Yuan stage? Xia Pingan nodded seriously. That's right. My cultivation has reached 7th elemental realm. In fact, Xia Pingan's current cultivation was not only at 7th elemental realm but at 38th elemental realm. 7th elemental realm was less than 1/5 of his strength. If he really said it, it would scare these people in front of him into shock and make them doubt their lives. Xia Pingan only felt that 7th elemental realm was strong enough for most summoners in this world, but it was not so eye-catching and left a lot of leeway for him. It was just more convenient. This realm was the ideal choice to pretend to be weak and eat the tiger. If Mr. Luoan is willing to join us and participate in this mission, we can offer Mr. Luoan a rare realm pearl every 2 weeks. If this mission is successfully completed, we will reward Mr. Luoan with 3 realm pearls. A realm pearl every half a month? 2 pearls a month. Xia Pingan knew that this offer was high enough for the Committee of Order. When he first joined the Committee of Order, summoners who had just joined the Committee of Order would be lucky to get 1 realm pearl every year if they did not make any special contributions and did not work hard. Xia Pingan was very tempted by this offer. He knew that coming to Earth to create a clone this time was indeed the right choice. Therefore, after pretending to consider it, Xia Pingan said directly, "I can accept this condition. However, I have already fused with many realm pearls before. If the realm pearls you provide are ones that I have already fused with, I have the right to change them. No problem. What we provide are relatively rare realm pearls. It's just that we can't guarantee whether Mr. Luoan can fuse with the realm pearls we provide. At the same time, we hope that Mr. Luoan will not fuse with the realm pearls we provide during the mission because those realm pearls may be very dangerous. If something happens to Mr. Luoan while fusing with the realm pearls, it may affect the completion of the mission." Minister Yen naturally had his reasons to be worried. If the Committee of Order gave Luoan realm pearls and Luoan's head exploded or something happened to him while fusing with the realm pearls, wouldn't the Committee of Order suffer a double loss? Therefore, this matter had to be settled in advance. Xia Pingan laughed secretly and said with a serious face, "No problem. I have to prepare for a long time to fuse with the realm pearls. It won't be that fast." If that's the case, then we welcome Mr. Luoan to join our team. Department Head Yen also smiled and inwardly let out a sigh of relief. Xia Pingan's straightforwardness on the matter of realm beads was somewhat out of his expectations. This was because many experts at Xia Pingan's level would often only cooperate with special realm beads provided by the Order Committee. Those special realm beads might be very popular, and the Order Committee didn't have a lot of them in stock. However, for someone like Luoan, as long as it was a rare realm bead, it would be easy to deal with him regardless of the fusion success rate. The two of them looked at each other and laughed. They both felt that they had taken advantage of each other and were in a good mood. "I wonder what the mission is like this time? Ling Yu, tell Mr. Luoan about our mission this time," Minister Yen said directly to Fong Lingyu. "Okay." Fong Lingyu pulled herself together and directly controlled the electronic display in the conference room to display some mission information in front of Xia Pingan. She began to introduce it to Xia Pingan. "Mr. Luo, our mission in Paris this time is related to nuclear fuel. According to our information, the Demon Eye smuggled a batch of weapons-grade plutonium raw materials to Paris. The quantity of these plutonium raw materials is about 60 to 90 kilograms. If used to make nuclear bombs, it can make 4 to 6 nuclear bombs, which may cause great harm to the countries. Therefore, the success or failure of our mission may determine the fate of many people." 60 to 90 kilograms of weapons-grade plutonium raw materials? Xia Pingan frowned slightly. For nuclear weapons, this was not a small number. This is only part of the data we have. In fact, the Demon Eye may have more nuclear materials than this number. Fong Lingyu nodded. Looking at the information that appeared on the electronic display in the conference room and listening to Fong Lingyu's explanation, Xia Pingan finally understood why the Committee of Order paid such a high price to pull him into the mission team. If the Demon Eye turned the nuclear fuel into a nuclear bomb, transported it to Great Yen, and detonated it in an important city, the consequences would be catastrophic. Therefore, the Great Fire Country was now guarding against it to the death while sending several elite teams to follow up on this matter. From the appearance of the Demon Eye's nuclear fuel to the smuggling, transportation, and processing of nuclear weapons, there were teams responsible for tracking every step of the process. They must nip the Demon Eye's scheme in the bud. The team in Paris was only one part of this. This mission was indeed tricky. Moreover, the nuclear fuel disappeared after being smuggled to Paris. Sasa and the Doomsday Gang, whom he had killed previously, might be involved. Fang Lingyu's team had dug up some useful clues from the Doomsday Gang. However, the disappearance of some key figures caused this mission to fall into a state of stagnation. At the same time, the Committee of Order had circled a few places in Paris where nuclear fuel might be hidden. If they wanted to enter and search those places, they would need to have the backing of a powerful force. It was very dangerous. Okay, I understand. Xia Pingan nodded. He looked at Minister Yen and said directly, "Can you pay the reward for the realm beads for the next 2 weeks in advance? I have to see the realm beads to feel at ease." Minister Yen glanced at Xia Pingan and nodded. Yes. As he spoke, he moved his hand, and a vermilion brocade box appeared in his hand. He pushed it in front of Xia Pingan. In order to show our sincerity, this first realm bead is a rare black box realm bead. The mortality rate of a failed fusion is unknown. Xia Pingan opened the box and took a look. Inside the brocade box was a realm bead shining with specks of light. There were 2 words on the realm bead, a person's name, Cui Hao. This realm bead was indeed rare, and Xia Qingan had never seen it before. However, Cui Hao Xia Pingan thought about it in his mind and immediately thought of a powerful person. Xia Pingan nodded and put away the realm bead in satisfaction. Chapter 521. After talking for a while in the room, Minister Yen finally got what he wanted. Xia Pingan had joined the team. Seeing this, Minister Yen let out a sigh of relief. This is the Special Communication Watch of the Committee of Order. It's a high-tech equipment. It can be connected to the satellite. You can wear it. If there's a task, this watch will display the task information. You can also contact us with this watch. The positioning function on the watch can be turned on or off. After Xia Pingan put away the realm bead, Minister Yen handed him a silver box. Xia Pingan opened the box. There was a black steel band sports watch in the box, which looked cool. Xia Pingan directly put it on his wrist. As a former member of the Committee of Order, it was a special feeling to wear the equipment of the Committee of Order again. Fang Lingxian explained how to use this special communication watch to Xia Pingan. Xia Pingan immediately grasped it. This watch was indeed a high-tech equipment. It could connect to the low-orbit satellites of the Fire Country in Europe for encrypted communication. It could absorb kinetic energy and light energy and convert them into energy. Additionally, it had a built-in high-energy battery. It was waterproof, shockproof, radiation-proof, and had a biometric identification function. After binding the watch to Xia Pingan, no one else could use it. Compared to the custom-made task mobile phone that Xia Pingan had used in the Fire Country, this watch was 1 level higher. If you need any other special equipment, just tell us. We'll try our best to meet your needs. Fang Lingxian said. That's enough. I don't need anything else. Xia Pingan took a look at the special communication watch on his wrist and turned off the satellite positioning function in front of the other 2 people. He then asked, "Is there any task for me now?" Fang Lingxian and Minister Yen looked at each other. Minister Yen cleared his throat and said, "There is a mission that requires Mr. Luo An's participation. One of the places that we have circled in the city of Paris is very dangerous and has the highest probability of containing nuclear materials. It is in the underground fortifications of Paris. We are going to organize a team to explore the underground fortifications of Paris tomorrow. Mr. Luoan, are you okay with that?" In order to deal with the space invasion, the French government spent hundreds of years building many underground shelters and underground fortifications in addition to the subway system in Paris. These underground shelters and underground fortifications were connected together to form a huge underground city system. 2 years ago, under the invasion of space, part of the underground city system of Paris was basically paralyzed. Many places were occupied by monsters, and some were destroyed by the military. If there was some nuclear fuel hidden in the underground system, it would be very convenient. This mission was absolutely difficult for ordinary summoners to go deep into dangerous places. However, it was not a problem for Xia Pingan. No matter how dangerous it could not be more dangerous than being hunted down by a demigod. No problem. I can participate in this mission tomorrow. May I ask, how many people will participate in this mission? Xia Pingan asked. In addition to a team from the Committee of Order, a team from the Dragon Group from Huaxia will also participate. This is a joint operation. Later, the other members of the Committee of Orders team will come here to meet you. You will meet the people from the Dragon Group tomorrow. Okay. Ling Xian, call them here and meet Mr. Luoan. A few minutes later, Xia Pingan saw Fang Lingshan, Tu Polu, and Li Yunzhou in the conference room. In addition to these three people, there were two people who were also summoners from the Committee of Order in Paris. They were also Fang Lingshuan's subordinates and colleagues. One was called Zhao Kuei and the other was called Shermanman. Zhao Kuei was an introverted man who did not like to chat. Shermanman looked gentle and pure, but was actually very capable and decisive. Both of them were already in the second realm. After more than 2 years, Li Yunzhou's cultivation had reached the second realm. Tu Polu and Fang Lingshan's cultivation had reached the third realm. Tu Polu was the strongest, and his cultivation had reached the late stage of the third realm. The space invasion had brought a large number of realm pearls, constant battles, and a large number of realm pearls from the Committee of Orders inventory. In the past 2 years, the strength of Tu Polu and the others had greatly improved due to the large number of realm pearls brought by the space invasion. For the summoners on Earth, the crisis and battles brought about by the space invasion were the catalysts for everyone's strength. Xia Pingan almost laughed out loud when he saw Li Yunzhou with a beard and a well-ironed suit, pretending to be a gentleman and greeting him in a reserved manner. This guy's original appearance was just a clown. In the world of summoners, strength was the most dazzling brand. Xia Pingan's cultivation of the seventh realm made even Tu Polu respect Xia Pingan enough and take the initiative to greet him. Fang Lingshan was still beautiful, cold, and arrogant. She had not changed much since Xia Pingan's first meeting. After greeting Luoan, Fang Lingshan raised her delicate eyebrows and asked straightforwardly, "May I know where Mr. Luoan has seen me before?" Upon hearing this question, the few people in the room all looked over. "I have a friend who knew you before. That friend mentioned you to me before," Xia Pingan said. Fang Lingshan was slightly stunned. "Mr. Luoan's friend knows me? May I ask what's the name of Mr. Luoan's friend?" "I'm sorry, it's hard to explain. I can't say his name." "If I say his name, you may all know him." Xia Pingan shook his head. "We all know each other?" Fang Lingshan was even more curious. However, she could tell that this Luoan in front of her was not joking with her. If he was, he could just make up a name and reason to deal with it. The operation would take place at 2 p.m. tomorrow. They would gather here. After greeting everyone, Xia Pingan bid farewell and left. Under everyone's gaze, Xia Pingan walked out of this square building. As he walked on the street, his figure gradually blurred until he disappeared. What a powerful illusion concealment secret technique. He used it very skillfully without a trace of smoke or fire. Generally speaking, summoners who have mastered the illusion secret technique rarely use it to such an extent. Department Head Yen slightly narrowed his eyes as he looked in the direction where Xia Pingan had disappeared, gently stroking his chin. "Minister, I don't know why, but I feel that this Luoan is not hostile to us at all. He seems to be very trustworthy." Tu Polu looked at the direction where Xia Pingan had disappeared as he touched his head and muttered, "What the hell? How could I trust a strange summoner whom I met for the first time?" Previously, I was not convinced and wanted to compete with him in strength. Why do I feel that it's unnecessary after meeting him? It's very strange. I also feel that this Luo-an has an indescribable familiarity. He doesn't have any malicious intent towards us. Fong Lingshan also said doubtfully. Could it be that we've been bewitched by someone's secret technique? Li Yunzhou stroked his beard with a wise expression on his face. However, the moment he opened his mouth, he spoke in a very funny manner. I didn't sense any fluctuation of divine power from Luoan just now. He didn't use any secret skill. Fong Lingshan shook her head. Actually, I also feel that it's a bit strange. When I met him for the first time, I felt that he didn't have any malicious intent towards us. Perhaps this is the energy field and aura. A summoner's energy field and aura can reveal his inner thoughts better than his word. Those summoners with gloomy and cold auras who make people feel uncomfortable will never have bright thoughts. We should be more careful when encountering such summoners. Although this Luoan has a mysterious background, judging from his aura, we should be able to rope him in. Minister Yen made the final decision. After that, he looked around and said, "Everyone, rest early tonight and prepare for tomorrow's operation." After leaving the 11th arrondissement, Xia Pinggan's figure quickly appeared outside the Chez Terroir restaurant. The Chez Terroir restaurant was still in business at night. The neon lights outside the restaurant were still on, and the tempting aroma of French dishes floated in the darkness. The homeless on the street could only sniff from afar. When they got a little closer, they would obediently move away under the deterrent gaze of the restaurant's security guard. Seeing Xia Pinggan suddenly appear from the darkness and calmly walk to the restaurant's entrance, the security guard at the restaurant's entrance immediately recognized Xia Pinggan. His expression changed instantly, and he immediately used a walkie-talkie to inform the people inside the restaurant. If they didn't know what this Luoan represented before, they now knew that he was a powerful summoner who could easily destroy the Doomsday Gang and the Jackal Gang by himself. The battle in the 11th arrondissement's People's Square that night had become a legend in Paris these days. "Mr. Luoan, welcome." The restaurant's manager, Gabriel, who was wearing a black tuxedo, ran out of the restaurant as fast as he could. He was a little out of breath. Gabriel ran to the restaurant's entrance, bowed deeply to Xia Pinggan, and personally opened the restaurant's door to welcome Xia Pinggan into the restaurant. Gabriel personally led Xia Pinggan to the restaurant's golden hall. This was the restaurant's most luxurious private room. It was on the restaurant's second floor, and it usually didn't receive guests. Gabriel asked someone to bring the Romanée-Conti wine. Like a waiter, he stood in front of Xia Pinggan and opened the wine bottle for Xia Pinggan, sobered him up, and set the table for him. He was meticulous. Caviar, foie gras, truffles, and the best things in the restaurant were served one after another. Xia Pinggan cut the foie gras and ate as he said to Gabriel, "There's a very important matter that may concern the survival of millions of people in Paris. I want to talk to the person in charge. Mr. Luoan, please wait a moment." Gabriel bowed slightly and left the restaurant. A minute later, he pushed the door open and walked in again. He continued to serve Xia Pinggan and poured a glass of wine for Xia Pinggan. "The chairman of the People's Front, Mr. Curie, is on his way. He'll be here soon." If an ordinary summoner had told him about the survival of millions of people in Paris, Gabriel would have snorted and told him to get lost. However, the person in front of him said that he didn't dare to take it lightly. He also didn't think that the person in front of him would be in the mood to joke with him. "Well, the French food in your restaurant is really good." "Your praise is our pleasure," said Gabriel, bowing slightly. Half an hour later, a black bulletproof Citroën, escorted by several SUVs, drove over and stopped outside the restaurant. Fully armed bodyguards stood guard around. A bodyguard opened the door of the bulletproof Citroën, and a black cane stretched out from the door. Then, an old man in a white striped suit and holding a black cane got out of the car, entered the restaurant, and went straight to the place where Xia Pingan was eating. At this time, Xia Pingan had just finished a big meal and met the chairman of the People's Front in this room. Mr. Luohan, I'm very happy to see you here. Thank you for everything you've done for Paris. Mr. Curie looked like an old-school French gentleman. When he saw Xia Pingan, he was very polite and could speak fluent and natural Chinese. When the two shook hands, Xia Pingan smiled. This old man was actually a four-sun realm summoner. He hid it well. Thinking about it, if this old man didn't have the ability, how could he be the leader of such a large organization? Chapter 522. Mr. Curie, I want to see you this time because of a very important matter. I think you should know about this matter. As the citizens of Paris and the masters of this country, you have the right to know what kind of dangerous situation you are facing now, especially when this situation may directly affect the safety of you and your friends. Xia Pingan said seriously. Thank you very much, Mr. Luohan, for your understanding of our position. I grew up in this city, and I love this city. This city is all my memories, and I love it more than myself. If Mr. Luohan knows who wants to threaten this city and the people living in this city, please let me know. Old Curie said solemnly as he sat up straight and held his cane with both hands. Okay, then I'll make a long story short. Mr. Curie, you should know about the demon eyes, right? Yes, I know. Old Curie nodded. Sasa of the Doomsday Gang is from the Demon Eyes, what? Old Curie's face suddenly turned solemn. This was the first time they had heard of this news. During this period, Sasa seemed to have disappeared, and there were all kinds of rumors. Some said that Sasa had escaped, some said that Sasa had hidden and was preparing to make a comeback, and some said that Sasa was killed by Luohan. However, these rumors did not know the exact situation when Luohan killed Sasa. The only ones who really knew Sasa's identity were Xia Pingan and the Committee of Order. Mr. Luohan, how do you know Sasa's identity? It's very simple. Because I burned him to ashes. Sasa is already the complete body of a brain-eating insect. Gabriel was also in the dining room. When he heard Xia Pingan say that Sasa was the complete body of a brain-eating insect, he seemed to have thought of something. His face turned pale, and he seemed to have some lingering fear. Gabriel was just an ordinary person, and he was instinctively afraid of these monsters from other worlds. He drew a cross on his chest. My God, I've met that bastard several times and had 2 meals with him. I was wondering why that bastard liked to eat beef brains so much. Hee. Consider yourself lucky that you didn't become his snack. Xia Pingan laughed. Is the dangerous situation that Mr. Lone mentioned related to the demon eye? Yes. Xia Pingan nodded. I have definite news here. Demon Eyes transported a batch of weapons-grade plutonium raw materials to Paris through Sasa. The amount is conservatively estimated to be at least 60 to 90 kilograms, and it might be more. If it's used to make nuclear bombs, it can make 4 to 6 nuclear bombs. Even if it's not used to make nuclear weapons, Mr. Curie should know the consequences once those nuclear materials spread in Paris. Hearing Xia Pingan's words, Curie was so shocked that he stood up. Gabriel was also dumbfounded and swallowed his saliva. At least 4 to 6 nuclear bombs in Paris? Xia Pingan nodded. Is what Mr. Luohan said true? Curie's hand that was holding his cane slightly trembled. His face had already turned pale. As an intelligent person, Curie knew better than anyone else what the most serious consequence of this matter would be. It's absolutely true. Why did Mr. Luohan tell us this? Because this city belongs to you and the millions of Parisians living in this city. You're the real party. I don't want to see you in great danger without knowing it. You know, I can keep this a secret from you. Even if there's any danger, I can leave Paris at any time. It's the same for me to change to another city. That's right, Zhang Tai said as he looked at Zhang Tai. Xia Pinggan's expression became unprecedentedly serious. The reason why I want to see Mr. Curie is that I want you to tell this news to the people in charge of the other organizations and gangs in Paris. Tell those who have the ability that if they don't want to turn into dust under a nuclear explosion one night in their sleep or watch this originally beautiful city eventually become a ghost town, then please mobilize your people, use your strength, and find the dangerous nuclear materials hidden in Paris. Xia Pinggan felt that the Committee of Order and the Dragon Group's previous method of searching for nuclear materials in Paris was actually because they had fallen into the misconception of intelligence work. Or rather, they did not have such conditions or ability before, so their progress was slow. At this moment, the people who wanted to find the nuclear materials the most were none other than the local gangs in Paris, the ordinary people, and those with vested interests in Paris. This was because the nuclear materials posed the most direct threat to them. If they could mobilize these people and fight a people's war to search for nuclear materials, their chances of winning were far greater than the Committee of Order's chances of winning by relying on their intelligence system and a few summoners. Even if they could not find it, it was actually quite good to let those who had the ability escape from this city. At least, they could reduce the losses of humans when a real disaster happened. The Committee of Order might have thought that this was confidential information related to the demon eyes, and it would cause a big mess if it was revealed, so they did not announce it. But Xia Pinggan did not care. It was not a big deal for the people of Paris to know what the demon eyes, the Committee of Order, and the Dragon Group knew. Paris was already like this, so how chaotic could it be? Apart from involving the Doomsday Gang and Sasa, do you have any other information about these nuclear materials, Mr. Luohan? There's also an Eastern European arms dealer named Alamov involved in this matter. Someone killed him in Paris. Sasa had a capable assistant named Alban, and he might be related to those nuclear materials. That person is now missing. The nuclear materials in the hands of the demon eyes must still be somewhere in Paris and have not been transported out. That's all I know now. Nuclear materials had a very special property. Because of their powerful radiation, they could turn monsters into demon spirit. At the same time, they couldn't be stored in a summoner's space equipment or secret mandala. Once they were stored in a space equipment or warehouse, no matter how tightly sealed they were, their radiation would directly affect the summoner's body. The so-called sealed seal was equivalent to zero. A summoner storing nuclear materials in their space equipment and secret mantras was equivalent to exposing themselves to intense nuclear radiation at any time, which was basically equivalent to committing suicide. In this case, the nuclear materials that the demon eyes transported to Paris could only be transported by ordinary means and could only exist somewhere in Paris. It was impossible for them to be hidden in a summoner's secret mantra. Mr. Luohan, this matter involves the survival of millions of people in Paris. The information you provided us is very important. You are our eternal friend, and I know what to do. If we have any information, how can we contact you, Mr. Luohan? Old Curie asked. Tie a string of blue balloons to the highest point of the Iron Tower, and I'll come to the restaurant. If you have any problems that you can't solve, I can solve them. Okay, I understand. Thank you again, Mr. Luohan, for providing us with such important information today and giving us a chance to save ourselves. Old Curie shook hands with Xia Pinggan and bowed slightly. I'm going to meet the leaders of a few gangs now and discuss with them about the next actions. Please forgive me for taking my leave. Mr. Curie, please go ahead. Old Curie simply left the restaurant and sat in his car. Under the protection of a group of bodyguards and guards, he quickly disappeared into the night. Xia Pinggan left after eating and drinking to his heart's content. After walking out of the restaurant, in the eyes of Gabriel and the restaurant's security guards, Xia Pingan's figure slowly disappeared into the night like a punctured bubble after walking more than 10 meters out of the restaurant. "These summoners are all monsters," Gabriel muttered as he stood at the entrance of the restaurant. At this moment, when the night wind blew, Gabriel felt that his back had been drenched in sweat ever since he heard the news about the nuclear materials. Gabriel thought that he still had a mistress in Paris, and that mistress was pregnant with his child and would give birth in 2 months. He could not sit still, and he was already thinking of getting his mistress to leave Paris first. Chapter 523. Teacher, you're back. It wasn't too late yet, and Emily hadn't gone to bed yet. As soon as Xia Pingan returned to the villa, Emily came out to welcome him. Those bastards were taken away by the patrol team. The patrol team was in disbelief. After showing off her skills today, Emily was still in a state of excitement. She didn't expect that the 4 targets that she usually couldn't deal with her bare hands would be so easily taken care of by her tonight. This gave Emily a boost of confidence. Yes, the gap between ordinary people and summoners will grow bigger and bigger. When you fuse with the Realm Pearl in the future, the Realm Pearl will transform your body and make you stronger. It'll be very easy for you to defeat a heavyweight boxing champion with 1 punch. Teacher, when can I fuse with the Realm Pearl? After eating the pills you gave me, I feel that my current strength should be enough, right? Emily asked. Continue eating those pills. You'll be almost there in a week. Yes. Emily nodded as her eyes lit up. Teacher, did you summon that black dog just now? If I become a summoner, will I be able to summon a dog like that and have it accompany me forever? Just like Batu, if you want to summon a dog, you need a suitable Realm Pearl. It'll only be possible after fusing with it. Moreover, your summoned creature has a planar descending time limit. You'll know in the future. Alright, it's getting late. I'm going into seclusion tonight. You should rest early too. Yes, okay. Good night, teacher. I'll rest after finishing my evening class. Emily was very satisfied and was looking forward to her future. After sending Emily away, Xia Pingan returned to his room and took out the tortoiseshell 5 elements inverted 8 trigrams sword array to protect the room. Then, he entered his secret mandala and entered the spirit realm through the secret mandala's spirit realm temple. At night in Paris, the corresponding spirit realm was dotted with stars. The sky was filled with the astral souls of people sleeping. The ground of the spirit realm was still barren and filled with fog. Ordinary people made up most of the astral souls on Earth, so most of the astral souls in the sky were flashing with white light. The astral souls of summoners and warriors were different from ordinary astral souls. The astral souls of summoners below the One Sun realm were all pale yellow. There were very few of them in Paris, and they could be seen at a glance. Because summoners in this world didn't have the Holy Spring, they couldn't break through the One Sun realm to some extent. Therefore, the astral souls of summoners in this world, even if they were above the 3 Yuan realm, their astral souls would only gradually change from pale yellow to bright yellow, dark yellow, and then golden yellow. The astral souls, of course, but the astral souls. The astral souls of summoners in this world would only gradually turn from pale yellow to bright yellow, dark yellow, to golden yellow. It was the same for martial artists. The astral spiritual bodies of the martial artists in this world also started from a faint red and became darker all the way. There were even fewer martial artists on Earth, and due to the lack of cultivation resources and techniques, they were also unable to cultivate to a higher realm. To some extent, this planet was a barren land for cultivation. More than 20 astral souls flickered and were slightly dim. Xia Pingan looked and saw that the astral souls were being entangled by the horseshoe larvae. Xia Pingan made a gesture and waved his hand. The 20 astral souls that were being possessed by the horseshoe larvae fell from the sky at the same time. The horseshoe larvae didn't seem to realize that there were other creatures on the ground until now. They opened their bloody mouths and glared at Xia Pingan with bloodshot eyes. Xia Pingan sneered at the horseshoe larvae that were baring their fangs and brandishing their claws. He hadn't killed a horseshoe larvae for a long time. Since he had time today, he could kill a few of them to replenish his soul power. Cultivation was like accumulating a lot. Grasshoppers were also meat. Xia Pingan pinched the silver necklace of the flaming Vajra around his neck. With a flash of light, Xia Pingan's entire body turned into the terrifying flaming Vajra. A metal giant instantly appeared in the wilderness of the spiritual realm. The horseshoe larvae that were baring their fangs and brandishing their claws were like loaches and earthworms in front of the terrifying flaming Vajra. They were exceptionally weak and ridiculous. The flaming Vajra grabbed out and crushed 5 horseshoe larvae. It stepped out and trampled 3 more to death. A little golden light flew out of the horseshoe larvae's body and entered Xia Pingan's glabella. The remaining horseshoe larvae were horrified and instantly wanted to flee in all directions. But how could those poor horseshoe larvae escape from the flaming Vajra? The flaming Vajra stretched out its hand, and a flame flew out from its finger like a fire whip. It swept across the air in a 360-degree arc. The scattered horseshoe larvae turned into ashes in the blink of an eye and floated down from the air. None of the horseshoe larvae escaped. The soul power in their bodies flowed into the sea and was all absorbed by Xia Pingan. The next second, with a flash of light, the huge metal body of the flaming Vajra disappeared. Xia Pingan appeared on the ground with the flaming Vajra's necklace still hanging around his neck. With a wave of his hand, the astral spirits that had broken free from the horseshoe larvae's possession returned to the sky and entered a sweet dream. For the masters of the astral spirits, they had no idea what had happened after they were freed from the nightmare. After killing these horseshoe larvae, Xia Pingan found that his soul power had increased by more than 30 slices. The soul power he had just harvested had already exceeded the soul power of several ordinary summoners combined. He remembered that when he first entered the spiritual world, the sum of his soul power was only a few slices. Elder Mu seems to have said that in the past, harvesting the soul power of horseshoe larvae in the spiritual world was actually not that easy for spirit herders. The key was that there were many spirit herders, so the horseshoe larvae should be the prey of spirit herders. Spirit herders wandered around the spiritual world, guarding the astral spirits in the sky, and killing horseshoe larvae and horseshoe larvae to cultivate. Now, in the spiritual world, there is only one spirit herder, but there are so many prey, so it feels easy to increase soul power. Xia Pingan touched his chin and muttered to himself. No matter what, this was a good thing. If soul power was also considered a cultivation resource, then the cultivation resources in the entire spiritual realm were almost all his. It was so abundant that it was ridiculous. Killing the horseshoe larvae was incidental. Xia Pingan entered the spiritual world this time, mainly not to kill horseshoe larvae. Several pale yellow and bright yellow stars were twinkling in the sky. These stars were gathered together and were very close to each other. They were not very far from Xia Pingan, so Xia Pingan quickly locked onto his target. Fang Lingshan, Fang Lingxian, Tu Pelu, and Li Yunzhou were all asleep at this moment. Perhaps because they had to carry out a mission tomorrow, everyone rested tonight to conserve their energy. After a summoner fell asleep, they would sometimes dream, and sometimes they would not. When they were dreaming, the astral spirits of the summoner would be in their own dreamscape. When they were not dreaming, the astral spirits would be in a kind of dreamless and peaceful sleep. Of course, for a spirit herder's dream-reading technique, it was too easy to enter other people's dreamscape. It was like a top hacker invading an ordinary computer user's computer. Whether the other party was dreaming or not, they could enter. Even if they were not dreaming, they could pull them into their own dreamscape. Xia Pingan directly entered Fang Lingshan's dreamscape. Fang Lingshan was not dreaming, but she immediately entered dreamland. she found that she had returned to the base of the Xianghe City Committee of Order. In Mo Yinshao's office, she saw Xia Pingan. "Ah, Xia Pingan, why are you back? Have you completed your mission?" "Lingshan, I haven't completed my mission. Our mission is more dangerous than we imagined. I can't come back in a short period." Xia Pingan smiled at Fang Lingshan. "Remember what I told you. You're still in your dreamland, so I can only see you in your dreamland for the time being. I told Luoan your name, and he's also my friend. You can trust him like you trust me. If you have a realm pearl and don't know how to fuse with it, or if you have any difficulties, you can find him. He'll find a way to help you fuse with the realm pearl. I'm very happy to see you in your dreamland. Remember to keep what I told you in your dreamscape a secret. I know you think you're dreaming, but it doesn't matter. I will tell Luoan to summon 5 elite slave soldiers, a firefly capsule and a dog to clear the way. It's a secret signal. When you see it, you will be able to confirm my words." After telling Fang Lingshan a few words in her dreamscape, Xia Pingan exited Fang Lingshan's dreamscape at once. In a room of the base of the Committee of Order in Area 11, Fang Lingshan, who had fallen asleep on the bed, opened her eyes at once. Fang Lingshan was a bit confused. After opening her eyes, Fang Lingshan became a bit confused, puzzled and shocked. Am I thinking too much? Is this a dream? After leaving Fang Lingshan's dreamscape, Xia Pingan entered Tu Polu's dreamscape once again. Like Fang Lingshan, Tu Polu also had a dreamless sleep. After that, he was taken into the office of the Committee of Order in Xianghe City by Xia Pingan and told Fang Lingshan almost the same words as what Fang Lingshan had heard. After that, Xia Pingan entered Li Yunzhou's dreamscape. Li Yunzhou was really dreaming, and it was a beautiful dream. On the beach, a group of bikini beauties were running around in front of him. Li Yunzhou was chasing those beauties while drooling. He was very happy and extremely wretched. However, all of a sudden, those beauties running on the beach disappeared and turned into disgusting zombies. Li Yunzhou was shocked. He wanted to run away, but found that his feet were stuck in the sand and he couldn't move at all. In the end, only half of his body was exposed on the beach. Then, a group of zombies with pus all over their bodies and long moldy tongues squeezed over while drooling. They wanted to line up to kiss Li Yunzhou. Seeing those ferocious faces getting closer and closer, Li Yunzhou screamed and suddenly sat up from the bed. He was panting and sweating profusely. He was still in shock and his little face turned pale. Chapter 524. The Royal Palace is a restricted area. Where did this rabbit come from? In the Royal Palace of Northern Wei, Tua Basi stood in front of the stairs with a horsewhip in his hand. He was shocked and angry as he glared at the guards in the palace. As he shouted, he used his horsewhip to hit the guards in front of him. As a Xianbei person, Tua Basi had fair skin, slender eyes, and a beard. He looked to be less than 20 years old and was a young man. The guards in the palace were also in a panic. They didn't dare to make a sound under the emperor's whip. They didn't dare to defend themselves. They all looked at each other, not knowing where the rabbit came from. Tua Basi had already ordered a thorough investigation of the guards in the palace and everyone who entered and exited the palace. They had to find out where the rabbit came from. The atmosphere in the royal palace of Northern Wei immediately became tense. The reason for this was because of the rabbit that suddenly appeared in front of Tua Basi. It was impossible for rabbits to exist in the royal palace. There were also no dog holes in the palace. According to the rules of Northern Wei, these animals were not allowed to be brought into the palace. Rabbits were very common in other places and were not a big deal. However, it appeared in the royal palace tonight and was even seen by the emperor. This meant that there was a major flaw in the security of the royal palace. Today, a rabbit could pass through the layers of guards and appear in front of Tua Basi. If there was an assassin in the future, Would he be able to appear in front of Tuo Baisi? Furthermore, Tuo Baisi had just become the emperor of Northern Wei and was very suspicious. This was the reason why Tuo Baisi was so angry because of the rabbit. There was no peace in the royal palace for the entire night. Tuo Baisi was not in the mood to sleep. Countless people in the palace were on tenterhooks for the entire night. After a night of chaos, they investigated everyone in the palace and all the guards, but they still did not know where the rabbit came from. Facing such a result, even Tuo Baisi, the emperor, was dumbfounded. He panted heavily in his study room, and his eyes flashed with a gloomy light. No one knew what he was thinking. Tuo Baisi's subordinates were also a bit scared, fearing that it would become a murder case caused by a rabbit. After exchanging glances with each other, an old eunuch beside Tuo Baisi carefully moved forward and said, "Your Majesty, that rabbit has a mysterious background, as if it suddenly appeared in the imperial palace. It might be a sign. Your Majesty, why don't you call Chui Hao here and ask him about it? Is it a good omen or a bad omen?" The old eunuch's words reminded Tuo Baisi. Tuo Baisi patted his head. How could he forget about Chui Hao's matter? Chui Hao was proficient in yin-yang algebra and the Book of Changes, so he would definitely know what the rabbit that entered the palace meant. Immediately summoned Chui Hao to the palace for an audience. More than an hour later, Xia Pingan, who had just opened his eyes and was practicing Bajuanjin to recuperate his body, was hurriedly brought to Tuo Baisi's study room by the old eunuch. Before this, Xia Pingan had returned to his room and started to fuse with Chui Hao's realm pearl after wandering around the spiritual realm. Chui Hao was indeed as described in the history books. He was young and well-versed in the classics and history. He was well-versed in all the theories of the classic. However, Chui Hao's body seemed to be lacking in training. In Xia Pingan's eyes, he was too delicate and weak. In the face of chaos, it would be difficult for him to even protect himself. "Chui Hao greets your Majesty." Xia Pingan bowed to Tuo Baisi, and at the same time secretly sized up Tuo Baisi. At this time, Tuo Baisi should have just ascended the throne about a year ago. The Northern Wei dynasty had a total of 148 years of history, and had experienced 14 emperors. Of those, 11 emperors had died unnatural death. The lifespan of these foreign races in China was generally short, and the same was true for the Northern Wei dynasty that was established by the Xianbei people. One of the strangest rules of Northern Wei was that whoever wanted to be the emperor had to first chop off his mother. This was called killing the mother when the son was established, just like a beast. In the past, when Tuo Baisi was established as the crown prince, his mother was killed. Because Tuo Baisi was too sad, he was reprimanded and expelled from the palace. As a result, Tuo Baisi was also killed by his other son in a coup. Xia Pingan estimated that none of the Northern Wei emperors had a normal heart. Each of them stepped on the bones of their own mothers to ascend the throne. It would be strange if these Northern Wei emperors had a normal heart. Tuo Baisi looked young, but he didn't have many years left to live. He would die at 32 years old. "Chancellor Chui, please dispense with the formalities. Yesterday I actually saw a rabbit in the palace. I asked Professor Chui to explain to me whether this is a good or bad omen." Tuo Baisi looked at Xia Pingan with an expectant gaze. Because Chui Hao was proficient in the theory of yang and yang, Tuo Baisi made Chui Hao a chancellor and often had Chui Hao perform divinations for him. "May I ask your Majesty, when and where did you see the rabbit? What color was the rabbit?" Xia Pingan asked seriously. Tuo Baisi replied. Xia Pingan then started to perform divinations in front of Tuo Baisi. Xia Pingan didn't have the ability to calculate, but he remembered the result of Chui Hao's divination for Tuo Baisi. This world bead had turned into a black box and no one could fuse with it. It would be strange if those who fused with the world bead were able to tell the truth when faced with such a situation. After a while, Xia Pingan stopped and revealed a smile. "Congratulations, Your Majesty." According to this humble subject's divination, the rabbit that entered the palace was seen by your majesty. This is a good omen, your majesty need not worry. Hearing Xia Pingan's words, Tua Basi's hanging heart finally calmed down. However, he still asked, what does this good omen indicate? The rabbit entering the palace indicates that your majesty will have a joyous occasion next year. The ruler of our neighboring country will send his princess over to marry your majesty. Tua Basi wasn't even 20 years old yet. When he heard that the neighboring country would send him a princess next year, he was dumbfounded. There was actually such a good thing? Chancellor, can you predict which country will send their princess over? Your majesty saw the rabbit at midnight. Midnight is the Kuan hexagram, which corresponds to the Qin state in the southwest. Ah, you mean Yao Xing will marry his daughter to me next year? Tua Basi's face was filled with disbelief. This was because the relationship between Wei and Qin wasn't very good. The two countries were bordering each other, and they would occasionally stop fighting. Your Majesty, you can wait and see. Yao Xing is already old and is no longer the same as he was in the past. It might not be a blessing for Qin to become enemies with Wei. Xia Pingan said confidently. This was because he knew that next year, Yao Xing would really send his daughter over to Tua Basi for marriage. The girl sent over was Empress Yao of Northern Wei, who was also Empress Zhao Ai. Hearing Xia Pingan's words, Tua Basi was completely relieved. The frown on his face relaxed and he laughed. If everything is as Chancellor Cui said next year, I will definitely reward you handsomely. This is all thanks to your majesty. This humble subject is only doing my duty. The risk of the murder caused by a rabbit was thus resolved. Xia Pingan left the palace under the grateful gazes of Tua Basi's eunuchs and guards. Lord Cui, thank you for your hard work. The entire palace is grateful to Lord Cui. His Majesty's appearance last night was too frightening. Before leaving, the old eunuch who sent Xia Pingan out heaved a sigh of relief. He was truly grateful to Xia Pingan. His Majesty is blessed, but sometimes he is too cautious. Eunuch Xian, please wait a moment. All right, Lord Cui, take care. The old eunuch nodded his head and turned around to leave with a smile. Seeing that the world of the realm pearl was still intact, Xia Pingan, who had left the palace, could only touch his nose. Looks like this is only the first stage. The test of the realm pearl is not over yet. Master, please get on the carriage. The coachman and two guards of Cui Mansion had already led the carriage over. Sitting in the carriage back home, Xia Pingan sat in the study for a while. He saw that the bookshelves in the study were filled with all kinds of ancient books. He casually picked up a book called Shangshu. Just by flipping through a few pages, he saw that the book was filled with fine and neat little words. They were all Cui Hao's annotations of Shangshu. The language was exquisite and unique. He then flipped open a book called Poems beside it. It was the same. Cui Hao's annotations were all in the book. Looking at the bookshelf filled with annotations, Xia Pingan flipped through the books. Suddenly, he thought of something and his expression changed. A few minutes later, thick smoke started to rise from Cui Hao's study. Standing in the study, Xia Pingan threw all the books that Cui Hao had annotated into the brazier. After seeing the fire, Xia Pingan directly pushed the entire bookshelf into the flames and walked out of the study calmly. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Nights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.